Schreiber.
Here.
Ms. Seymour. Here. Mr. Moss.
Here.
Mr. Lance is excused this evening. Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Perkias.
Here.
Ms. Jordan.
Here.
District Member present.
All right, thank you. The first item on our agenda is the Vernon Development Medical Center, and I believe you're taking that with Mr. Crowe.
Yes, ma'am. I just need a minute to pull it up. Is that too dark for you?
No, this
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to read.
We have 3 slides and then I'll turn the lights back on. Yep.
Trying.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, please.
Good evening. Our first site plan is site plan 1322 for Durr Development Medical Office. The location's on Southfield Road at Edwards. It's the former site of the Harvard Plaza office building that burnt down a few years ago. This was also the proposed site at one time of Golden Corral in Culver's, just for the council's reference. I'm happy to present today that we have a conforming office use in the office service district. It's a proposed 20,000 square foot medical office building. And as part of this development, the existing right-of-way has parking in it, and they are going to pull that parking out of the right-of-way for future development of Southfield Road and create a green buffer. They also have agreed to mimic the decorative streetscape that the Jonah project was approved with the brick piers and wrought iron fencing and some of the landscaping. And then finally, as you recall, Edwards is a one-way street at the rear portion of the property that exits west to Southfield Road. There are 3 existing driveways. They've agreed to close the 2 easternmost driveways, so there will only be 1 driveway onto Edwards with exiting onto Southfield Road. We have Nicole representing Versa Development. I'm going to ask her to come up, and then she could give a brief overview of the project and answer any questions that the council may have.
Can you give us your name and business address for the record, please?
Of course. I actually also brought copies of these pictures that were up on the slides if you guys are interested, if you want to look yourself. My name is Nicole Jeffries. I'm with Versa Development. We're located at 29500 West 11 Mile in Southfield. So we are a Southfield-based business. And we are proposing this 20,000 square foot medical office building, as Mr. Crowe talked about. We're very excited about this project. We think this site is a great location, and we're looking at starting construction late this year in 2014 if we get all necessary approvals. As Terry said, we are trying to mimic the streetscaping that is being done in additional areas on Southfield Road, and we're working with them to make sure that happens, and make sure that it matches. And I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have on the project.
Sure, we can make some questions. Mr. Stiver?
Can you tell me how far back this proposed building goes? The reason I'm asking is that the residents to the east were concerned about a buffer between residential and whatever use was put to this property.
So how far behind the property is what you're talking about, or behind the building? We're bringing, right now, the existing topo, the existing parking lot. I'm not sure if we have that on the board. I think we've got. Here we go. This shows the site plan. So this is the back of the property that you're talking about. And right now, the parking lot comes almost all the way up to the property line. And as you can see, we are moving this much further back. This is 53.6 feet from property line to the edge of parking, and here it's even further, probably another 20 feet right here. We're also redoing the wall along the property line here, which was at Mr. Crow's request, because that wall is in very poor condition right now. So that's something we will be redoing and matching as well. A brick wall, yeah. It's per I think the city has a standard that we're matching.
Is there, can you tell me the height of that wall?
It has to be 6 feet minimum.
Okay.
And if I could, the building is 131 feet from the wall.
Yep.
All right.
So they are providing an additional green space buffer that doesn't currently exist.
The other question I have, the building that was there, the plaza that built on Vernon, that was about 40,000 square feet, 41,000?
Yep.
This is only 19?
It's over 20,000.
Over 20,000, and then I think the growth area is just under 20,000.
It's about half the size.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this picture, I'm a little confused as to what is to the north. Okay, that's just okay. That really doesn't relate to what's next door.
This is more of a render. This right here is more of a rendering, kind of just showing what we're proposing for this building. Don't use it as a reference for what's around.
Because it almost looked like you were leaving space to the north. So if I'm looking at this, really tells me this site.
Correct. That's
There's 95 feet from the northern piece to the property.
Okay. It seems like you have an awful lot of parking.
We are exactly at the number, or just above.
Required.
Our required spaces was 145, and we're at 150.
Okay.
So we're right close to.
And we haven't revised our parking requirements yet.
The legislative committee is going to get a preview in 2 weeks.
I believe, my opinion is that we're overparked in Southfield. I'd rather see grass, and also less water runoff. That's why I raised that, because it looks like an awful lot of parking. It's almost as much parking as is there with a bigger building. Almost.
I mean, the parking lot is quite a bit smaller. There's not a lot of green space on that old parking lot, and it goes to.
That did go to the street.
It went all the way up to into the right of way and all the way back, but it was also a bigger building. So
there was about 60 feet from Southfield Road that's coming, and asphalt's being removed for Greenville.
Talking to our proposed tenant, our user, they really are thinking they need 135 to 140 spots. They wouldn't be comfortable with less than that. So I mean, we're a little higher than that, but not a lot. So
All right.
we're just trying to meet the
I'm just
ordinance.
throwing it out
Yeah, no,
there.
totally agree with you.
Because it's all, what is it, $10,000, $11,000 in cost per parking space, so.
Not cheap.
It's money too.
Mhm.
The other question I have is about you're talking about a proposed tenant. Do you have a tenant?
We do. It's, we have a signed lease with them, so I can share it with you guys. It's Henry Ford Optimize.
Oh.
They do ophthalmology, optometry. They have a lab for glasses fitting, all that kind of stuff. So they will
Very
be,
good.
as of right now, that's the user we are building for.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, given the history of this piece that we all know and share, what has been done? I know that there's a minimum requirement to notify residents, but what is being done to over-notify the residents in this area about what the plans are, the timeline, meeting with them to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself?
Well, this is a site plan, and the previous plans required either rezoning or special land use. But in any event, we still follow the same notification requirements of 350 feet. We did hold at least 2 meetings with the Planning Commission where residents did show up. Mr. Parrish, who's the unofficial representative of the neighborhood, came and spoke in favor of this development. And we also go the further step of notifying all of the active homeowners associations, usually within a half-a-mile radius. So in this particular case, unlike the others where there was a change of use or a change of rezoning, and we doubled our efforts for input, this is a permitted by right, only requiring site plan, but we still follow the same notification requirements.
What are the hours of operation going to be, and the residents know that?
That was one of the things we talked about at, I believe, both planning commission meetings. It is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday. I believe it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Saturday it's 9 to 5, and Sunday it's 10 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, now this, to be fair, we did not know who the user was during the planning commission, and it was thought that would be open Monday through Saturday. But now that you have a user, this is what the proposed hours are, so.
Okay.
And the weekends, it's not, especially Sunday, it's not a lot of traffic from what we're being told. The majority of the doctor's hours and stuff are happening Monday through Friday.
So the residents knew could be an up to 8 p.m. operation?
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I did want to clarify that we only had talked Monday through Saturday at the time.
Okay.
That was, to the best of our knowledge, that's what the proposed hours are.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Mr. Pataki.
Yeah, I think that, I talked to a lot of the neighbors over there, and of course they had a serious problem with because of the deed restrictions, and those who were adjacent to the proposed uses that were previously brought before this council, they were objecting to it because of the use, and they were quite surprised when individuals who were looking for the development in that piece had gotten enough signatures to overturn the deed restrictions. They were quite concerned of what was going to be put there, and this is just unbelievable that this came back as a office again, like what was there previously, and meets better requirements. They were worried about the wall, they were worried about the buffer, and especially the gentleman that was right next door to the east of that. And I think it's just great that this came along, and is, we don't have the Golden Corral, we don't have the other restaurant, whatever that name was, we don't have the storage, and this is a great use. My question, though, is, Terry, what I mentioned before, is there is a swale in front of there isn't stormwater sewer. How is that going to be treated?
We do have the city engineer here, and I'm going to defer to her. She did have some comments in the review regarding drainage.
Because I mentioned to you before that Encore was just immediately to the south of that. When we had the big storm, they did so much load and all went into the building, and I wonder how that was going to be resolved.
Yeah, nothing's been submitted yet as far as engineering goes, so when we go through the the initial site plan process, I'm basically telling them what's available storm-wise around the site. There is a county drain right in Southfield Road, so their on-site storm system will have detention and will outlet most likely to the county drain because that ditch really isn't going to be able to handle it. But I haven't seen yet, I mean, whether the ditch is proposed to stay open or be enclosed is really up to them, however they can make it work.
And what is the county gonna do? I know that the corner 12 Mile in Southfield where the shopping center is being, they're putting in sewers.
Right.
And handling the situation, but on the east side of the street, they still have the ditches. And I think that the county should put in a sewer system in there.
Yeah,
so they can tap in, because it's crazy to have rain and have these ditches on that main artery overflow.
Well, I think actually on Southfield Road, the ditches are south of Edwards. So this piece, there is county drain available out there now.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are planning on tapping that county drain and getting a permit from them, and you should be seeing engineering plans later this week.
Okay.
But it's safe to say there will be a major upgrade to that storm system. The structure that was there previously meant a different standard. This will have to meet the standard that's in place today. I'll use the shopping center at 12, and that originally had no detention, outlet directly into the county storm system. Today, what's being built there will be treated and meets a 10-year standard. Is that correct? So this development will be at minimum an improvement, giving some relief to the site to the north. Doesn't address the Encore problem, because that was, I'm willing to, and we'll check it out when we investigate it. I'm sure that site was like the church. It was built during a different period. It may have treatment, it may not have adequate storage for on-site. But this improvement, if everyone addresses their own problem, it helps lessen the pressure on others. So this will be an improvement to the neighbors to the south.
How close does this come to the right-of-way, new right-of-way?
There's
The building or the parking lot?
The property line and the right-of-way of the county when Southfield Road is widened.
Well, our parking lot itself is set back 30 feet from even the right-of-way, the new right-of-way line, that red line. So this whole area, this is 30 feet before we even start the parking lot of green space, and this is I think the newer right-of-way line.
I guess my question is, do we have enough right-of-way for the widening of Southfield Road on your property?
Yes.
If you look at this here, this is the edge of Southfield Road, and we have a large area between Southfield Road and even the right-of-way line. And then we have another 30-foot buffer on top of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the big concern I have is the parking lot being so close to the residents. I mean, I don't expect the kind of noise that we would have expected with the Golden Corral or, you know, that type of an establishment, but it does seem rather close to me. I don't, have any of the residents come to meetings that have talked about this?
Yes, Mr. Parrish and a number of representatives came, and again, just
What do they express?
they're happy with this development.
They are.
And if I could just repeat that the existing parking lot goes in all the way to the wall. And they're gonna pull the parking back 53 feet from the new wall, and then there's an additional 80 feet before the first edge of the building. So this is actually creating a lot more green space and separation from what exists there today.
Well, so it'll be 50 feet back from the wall.
That's correct.
The parking lot, and then the
Well, I
building.
had heard it wasn't gonna be that far back. 50 feet would be good.
Yes, and that'll be a
53 actually.
green buffer, and then the building itself is 131 feet from the wall. So the existing parking lot goes right up to the wall. In essence, it'll be almost 2 bays of parking away from the wall.
But it's 50 feet from the wall to where the parking starts.
Again,
Is that
that's correct. And that'll be green space.
Okay. I would think that would be a minimum, so they don't hear, you know, that, they just,
Yeah, it's also, that's the back door, that's the where we expect the employees to park, but we're expecting the majority of the activity, the cars coming in and out and parking to be on the front of the building up near
So
Southfield.
your employees, you would want to park in the back so that you can reserve the, yeah.
We're expecting them to park back here. There's a back door just for employees, but the main entrance to the building and really the only
So
entrance
you don't
to
have
the
to come and go during the day.
Correct, that's all gonna be up front, on the front entrance up.
Yeah. I did talk to Mr. Parrish, I did talk to Mr. Tim. I know he's been concerned about things. It certainly is an improvement to what's been proposed today. I'm curious, is this gonna come to site plan committee?
Well, the decision was made to bring it to full council
Why
instead
would
of
you
site
like
plan.
that site plan committee?
Because this had been a contentious project before, and we thought that it would be better to bring it to the entire council for a study
And not go
session.
through site plan
That's
at
correct.
all? That makes no sense.
Well, that has been our practice on more controversial or larger projects, is to bring it to the full council.
Well, that's fine, to get an idea of what, you know, of the general sense of the council, but to just avoid site plan, that seems to me not proper. All right.
I don't think it'll be a practice to avoid the site plan.
Well, it has been from what he's saying. What he's saying, it has been, and I think that's wrong. That's a council committee.
John, I think I'm partially to blame on that. I said that because of the neighborhood and the deed restrictions and everything that these people have put up with, that it should come to complete council, so that.
Well, it should anyway, but it still should go to site plan.
Yeah.
That is what the committee
I guess I was looking at not trying to delay them and get this project underway before winter.
We could have had a site plan committee meeting tonight. We could have done that like you normally do. That's not a good argument. All right.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, I don't see any rendering of lighting on your drawing. What kind of lighting are you anticipating? Because, you know, lighting, if it's the wrong kind of lighting, it can also cause irritation of the people that are right behind there.
We do have a lighting plan. I apologize it's not up there, but it's something that's been submitted as part of the site plan with both the photometric study and then what lights we're proposing. There's going to be some lights on the building and then some of the parking lot lights on poles. And I know, you know, that's part of the design is to make sure along the property lines that the lighting levels are low and then, you know, and not affecting the neighbors.
Yeah, there are kinds of lights that can be shielded,
Yes.
so that the light does not bleed over onto the adjoining property.
The lights are shielded and directed downward. We also have a photometric plan that says that it'll be less than 1 foot candle at the property line.
Okay.
And that will be part of your full packet in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
What about considering an electrical charging station for the lights? That's something that could be
For the lights or for the
for the cars.
Oh, for a car? It's something we can certainly look into. How many, would you be looking for, like, one or more, or?
Just if you would consider that with, you know, going green and the whole saving energy.
I don't know that we've done one before, but I know it's a new thing, so we're more than happy to look into something like that. I can certainly see what the cost would be and let you guys know if it's something we can add to the project. Definitely, I'll look into that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I did have one other question for Mr. Cook. Where are the bicycle racks?
They're there.
Probably not on it's not on that rendering.
It's actually located right here.
Yep.
Okay, and you know that's a requirement, and I actually encourage more than the minimum.
There will definitely be bike racks.
That would have come out in the site plan.
Yeah.
I think this is a great redevelopment, and we're pleased with it, so we'll see you on the 20th.
Great, thank you
Any
so
other
much.
questions, council? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is code as well, and there's the old DTE Service Center with the Durr Systems, North American headquarters.
Just give me a minute. item, Madam Chair, is site plan 1323. Durr Systems, Inc., North American headquarters at the former DTE Service Center on Northwestern Highway. And it's located two buildings west of the existing Federal Mogo site. And actually, if you come off the off-ramp for the Losser exit, when you're standing there at the red light, you'll be looking directly at this new facility. The existing facility is approximately 90,000 square feet, and they're proposing to renovate that and add an additional 101,000 square foot research and development facility. They meet all required setbacks and dimensional requirements. We're going to get into the site plan in a little more detail, but we have representative of Durr who'd like to do a brief PowerPoint presentation to introduce his company to the council and to the city. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit more about specifics. Ken?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank
And
you.
give me that your name and business address for the record.
Yes, I will. Good evening, council. My name is Kent Bragg. I work for Durr Systems, located at 40600 Plymouth Road in Plymouth, Michigan. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for having us here tonight. I'd like to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission for the previous meetings that we've had, the positive interaction with the city. And I just want to give you a brief introduction to who Durr is, why we want to come to Southfield, and what our vision is for moving forward in the future with the city of Southfield. There we go. Durr is a global group. The headquarters are in Stuttgart, Germany. We'll go into a little bit of the higher structure of it. We have the North American headquarters right now that's in Plymouth, Michigan. We also have two other suburban locations in Auburn Hills and Wixom. Our goal is to combine all of these business units into one central campus in Southfield. There's a couple of strategic reasons for that. One, it brings the expertise of our global company under one umbrella, and secondly, it puts us centrally into the Southfield area, which gets us out of the suburbs, makes us more centralized to our OEM customers, Ford, GM, Chrysler, and the big three in Detroit Automotive. So just real quick, our four main business units are paint and assembly systems, application technology, which is a robotic application technology, service for the automotive OEMs, measuring and process systems here, balancing systems, and clean technology. These are environmental systems, thermal oxidizers, real critical to environmentally friendly processes in the automotive in the Detroit area for us. Again, global presence. Durr's headquartered out of Stuttgart, Germany. We were just there last week looking at a similar campus project they have there, so this will be the second campus in the entire world for Durr. But we're located in 26 countries, and just about every continent except Australia. I tried to get that one, but they wouldn't let me go. And we have 54 business locations and 35 production facilities around the world. Right now, we currently have 3 suburban locations. Plymouth, Michigan, which is our headquarters right now in North America. Our Auburn Hills facility, which houses our application technologies, aircraft technologies, and balancing systems. And in Wixom, which is our cleaning and filtration systems. In total, between the 3 buildings that would be combined in Southfield is approximately 400 employees, right at about 400 employees. So we would be taking these 3 locations, locate them into one campus configuration, and all of our employees would be under one umbrella. So we have three core competencies that would be housed in the Southfield location. One would be engineering, one of the most critical components of our business. One thing we think of moving our location to Southfield, not only from a strategic location as far as geography, we can attract more talent. We got Lawrence Tech. We're more centralized instead of being out in the suburbs, which tends to draw people that live in those local geographic areas. Centralizing our business brings more talent. The second thing that we have, a core competency, is testing. The automotive industry relies on Durr heavily for their testing and validation of new equipment.
Durr's been a critical key player in the revitalization of the automotive industry as we come out of the slope, and they rely on Durr to help them to either design new equipment, improve equipment, move into facilities that need overhaul, which is decreasing emissions or increasing production, bringing revitalization back to the existing plant. So testing is a core part of our business that will be brought into Southfield. Validation center. So Durr globally, as you saw in the original slide, has a tremendous manufacturing and engineering capacity worldwide. We bring in a lot of our technology from Germany, like these robotic application equipment here. And what we would do is, instead of in Auburn Hills receiving the equipment, assembling it, shipping it to the automotive, everything would come into our campus in Southfield under the new building that we're proposing to build. We would assemble this equipment with skilled labor, and then we distribute it out to the plants locally in the Metro Detroit area for the automotive processes. So again, in this facility, it's validation, it's not manufacturing. We receive components from other parts of the world, we assemble them here, and then use them locally in the automotive industry. And you'll see these same terms used on the layouts. So again, in validation, more equipment, all high-tech, cleaning technologies, which is part of the validation and the pre-assembly work, and that's the end of the overall presentation. So again, for Durr, it's exciting. We've been in Plymouth since 1970, so it has a long established history in Metro Detroit, has deep roots, and we're really excited. We're working with the Smith Group out of Detroit for our architectural planning. We're working with the Chrisman Group out of Livonia as our construction manager. And we're working really aggressively with local contractors in this area to help us with the bid process, to get into the planning process. Just between the development, we'll be able to bring in contract work. So it's about a year's worth of work that would be for local labor. And again, moving 400 people right into Southfield to take advantage of the city and the services we have here. So most of you know what the old DTE building looks like. So we have this primary structure here with the pavilion in the front. Durr has a corporate design standard. If you've ever worked with a German company, they have these design standards and things that they see as the right way to go. So our plan is to completely revitalize that building, not just come in and renovate the interior, but completely change and update the outside structure and the total appearance so it has a true corporate image for Durr, as well as the visual appeal from 690 or Northwestern. It'll look like a new high-tech company that's moved into the area, reusing the existing structure that's been there for over 40 years. In the rear here, you'll see some of the new building. It's a high bay building, that validation that I brought up about the validation assembly. It'll be in this new high bay structure in the rear. So we'll be adjoining it to the existing building. And you can see here on the plans, this being the entrance, which is here at the pavilion. This is the existing office structure and cafeteria. We'll be putting in a training facility for automotive customers, research and development for the robotic application equipment, testing, and the validation area, which is the pre-assembly area. So it'll be a total centralized area for customers, the engineering staff, and all of our modular assembly groups.
I'm Meredith McClellan. I'm from Smith Group, JJR. I'm the project manager on this. And just to walk you through the site plan and what we've been working with, we currently have this existing building with a large quantity of parking to the south, and we will be redistributing the parking around the perimeter, as well as creating, currently there's a sidewalk to the west and the east, but nothing along Northwestern Highway. We'll be connecting the sidewalk with the current setback requirements, creating a new front entrance, as Kent was saying. The bike racks are actually going, I was listening, they're going by the employee entrance to the east, which is where the large quantity of the employees will be entering. We do have for deliveries, we have a truck entrance to the validation area that can be a drive-through as well as for the fire trucks, and then we have a recessed loading dock that's all screened to the rear of the property. The intent is to keep the kind of service areas hidden behind the kind of high-tech front of the building. That's it. And stormwater detention, we are providing additional underground that would drain into the wetlands over to the southeast.
And one additional thing I'd like to point out is the existing wooded wetland that's located to the south will not be impacted by this project. So that will remain as a buffer to the residents to the south. So they'll be working within the existing footprint of the parking lot.
The closest we get to it is 33 feet.
Okay, we do have a few questions, Ms. Seymour.
Yes, got several. You mentioned the wetlands draining into that, or the runoff draining into that. Is that going to be filtered?
It's through a detention system, so the water will be held, and I'm not a civil engineer.
Well, but I mean, if it's going to go into the wetlands, it needs to be filtered to go into the wetlands.
Right. At least, yes. I believe that is the case with the civil
Is the
engineer.
SNP group formally from Attention and Growth?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, thank you. I have a question for, I'm sorry, sir.
Ken?
Ken?
Yeah.
Painting, what are you painting, parts?
Yeah, so the research and development area is more for validation of the robot and the spray process. There's a very low volume of paint that would be sprayed every month, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 gallons or less per month. So we've worked with the planning group and the DEQ standards, and we want to keep it well below that. It's very low volume of sprayed paint.
But it's parts, you're not doing any assembly, this is all supplier effort. Who are your customers, can you tell me that?
Ford, GM, Chrysler, all big three in the automotive. Yeah, we build the paint finishing system, we build everything between the assembly, the body shop, and the assembly shop. So everything in that process is touched by a Durr product.
Oh, okay.
So.
Not Volkswagen?
But we have the Volkswagen Chattanooga. In fact, I spent
I
some
would
time.
think.
Yeah, we have a Southern Center office in Alabama that services BMW, Volkswagen,
Okay.
and Mercedes.
My employment background is in the automotive supplier industry, so I'm very excited about your coming to Southfield. I have to tell you, that's something we've all been trying to attract here, so this is going to be a huge draw, I think, and I'm just excited to have you here.
Great, thank you.
Very much. I couldn't be happier.
Great. We're happy too.
Good.
Mr. Moss.
Yeah, I do actually want to echo Ms. Seymour's comments. It's like somebody coached you to hit every note. That would be music to our ears. This is a great investment, a facelift to what's there now, and we'd be proud to have such a major corporation consolidate and merge and see Southfield as a good central location. Question is, if you're merging these facilities together, is there a long-term or even a short-term vision for bringing new jobs? I know you said you're consolidating to bring 400 jobs here. Is there an expansion down the line whatsoever?
Yeah, right now our capacity is probably about 80% inside of our existing companies. After the downturn, it was a loss, and we probably went to 50-ish in that range. We've regained a lot of those people, but certainly our company, we're trying to gain new talent. We're highly vested in new talent. We've been working on the architectural interior plan together. We have an existing facility, so we have a defined space to work with, but in every department, in every category, we have a block of names, which is for expansion. So
I want to make sure you know about the Southfield, Michigan Works facility in our city. Any employment opportunity as you expand in Southfield, we want to make sure you're looking at Southfield residents.
Sure.
And make sure that, we can kind of create some local economic rebound within our own residents who are talented and looking for work. So I'd love to hear the partnership with Lawrence Tech, but even not affiliated with Lawrence Tech. They're good, talented people here in Southfield. So the Southfield, Michigan Works facility is in our city, and I would love for you to go there first as you look to add jobs to the facility.
Yeah, we work with the young engineers in Detroit, SME. We have a very strong graduate engineer and intern program. Right now we have over 20 graduate engineers at Durr that are working through different departments. We train them on every aspect from purchasing all the way through logistics and expediting. So they're really active in the community and the colleges. We have a very strong environmental policy that I could share with anyone on the board. We have a very strong charity group that works with the communities. They're very active in Plymouth. They've been very active there, and in our other groups which follow us to here. So there's they're out to weather. They've been in Plymouth for a long time, and I've been 20 years will be in December. I've been there 20 years, so I've seen a lot of things change. And when it went through the downturn, we worked hard with the customers and OEMs and Ford, and we worked hard to get through all that. The whole industry did. So now in the rebound, we want to get situated, positioned in Southfield and keep growing. So, no, definitely I got the works written down. And anything you want to know about our company as far as from the HR side through the technical side. I know we preach a lot about the technical side, the engineering and robotics, but it's a strong people company also.
That's really good to hear. From the city's end, we can sing our own praises and say how great we are and how we're open for business. It's great validation when somebody comes to the city and talks about our strengths. It's second-person validation. We need to make sure that, I don't know if Michael Mannion's here, but we need to make sure that there's some sort of PR strategy when this project does move forward, so that, you can say all the talking points that you came here with, and broadcast it out there to let other developers, business people, corporations know. It's not just the city pumping out its own information internally, but you have a second-person validator, major corporation validator that highlights our strengths as a community so that we can continue to climb out of, the economic low point. Thank you.
Mayor Lawrence?
Yes, I was just saying, like Councilman Moss said, it sounded like you're scripted. You did a great job. I want to ask that center part, when you add the new building on, is that going to be outside space, like an outdoor pavilion? Yes.
This part right here is an existing courtyard, and we are going to maintain it. So we see it as an amenity to the employees.
Okay.
And all these interior offices will have additional views to the courtyard. We're trying to bring natural light, make a nice, pleasant working experience for the employees. This part here labeled outdoor equipment is an existing area where we have an areaway and some transformers, and we need to retain that. So we're not touching that. And that is also kind of the service center of the building, so trash.
So you're taking up a lot of the existing parking. And I know you went through the planning process, but do you feel confident that you have adequate parking?
We do. We are required to have 420 spots. We are showing over 500. So we have plenty. We actually are looking at potentially reducing it to create more green space. This row over here, people aren't going to want to park there. So let's put grass back and save the money and, reduce the amount of stormwater runoff we have. So we are looking at that. Talking to Durr, they require 450 spots as far as being able to operate.
If I could just remind the council that we can land bank some green space that's dedicated for future parking. And then if the need arises, they can put it in at a later date.
I didn't hear you say, what is the predicted time frame? Will you be moving in the existing and building while you're there, or are you going to wait until the entire...
Well, actually, we would start the renovation at the first of the year, roughly. We would go in and do the demolition and all that, and then come spring when we can, we would break ground on the additions. The idea is to move everybody in, like, over Christmas break of 2016, and then the equipment would be put in spring of 2016. So it would be fully functional by middle of 2016.
Right. And then you mentioned something, and we always talk about the college grant. The Southfield Public School has an engineering academy, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, is that we need to partner with the public schools to introduce them to engineering. We have a STEM program, and we really need strong partners in that. And, we have such a gem at LTU, but we have bright students that, if you don't start feeding them young, to go to the Lawrence Tech. And so I really want to encourage you to do that. I'm not gonna steal Councilman Frazier's request for you to join some organizations.
Go ahead.
But, you know, being part of this community we have a chamber, and we're only as good as the members who join. I really want to make sure that you join our chamber, and help, I mean, with your scripted message, you elevate to chair of the chamber in no time. You get it. We also have this amazing group of R&D, automotive R&D, and I know you've done your homework.
Yep.
And it's very impressive that in the city of Southfield, you know, we can name them, the Lear, the Denso, the BASF, the Eaton Corporation, you know, all of them, and all of you are doing R&D.
Right.
And so it's something that I think the city should look at, how people label their cities. We are becoming the R&D for automotive. We've got to have the largest concentration in this area. And I think that's something that we should really try to understand how we can market that and label ourselves as such. Lastly, the job situation, I want to hit on that again. We have all this business locations here, and we want to make sure that our residents get an opportunity. If you're going to do hiring, considering a job fair in the city of Southfield, we always do a veterans job fair. So those are things that coming here, we're so excited. Thank you so much. When your leadership comes to town, please make sure they meet the city leaders so that, you know, you can form that relationship. And I'm very excited about this. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to state that, you know, that is such a great location. I'm very happy that a major corporation is located there. It's easy access up by 696 and go downtown to the offices, you know, access to Southfield Road and downtown very easily. So I was very happy you're actually coming into Southfield. I just have one question, and how many trucks would you say come into that facility?
Right, that's a very good question. So we've monitored our existing facilities to try and get a feel for what the traffic would be like. It's definitely not a steady flow of trucking. There may be a day where we get 3 trucks, and that may be it for the rest of the week, or it could be 1 or 2 trucks a day. If you can imagine the size of the equipment and the time that it takes to validate, right now in the existing conditions, the trucks would bring in 5 or 6 robots. We offload them, and then it's a month or 6 weeks of testing and validation, and maybe another piece of equipment comes in. But it's definitely not a shipping and receiving type scenario where it's expediting in and out and logistics in and out constantly. So the rate would, if you were going to put a number to it and you said 3 a day for the 5-day work week, that would be the maximum that you would see during a work week if you said a 15 truck type average for a work week.
I was just questioning because you'd probably come off the Lasher exit there and you'd probably turn west, and sometimes that gets backed up because there's a light there.
Right.
And you'd be making a left-hand turn into your development. And I don't see that as a big thing with 3 or 4 cars and trucks a day. That's nothing.
Yeah, it's not a heavy volume. There's not raw materials coming in, or it's a low volume.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question about the trucks, but I was a 2-part. One is the trucks that are associated with your business, but also like UPS or anything. You have those kind of trucks coming in and out of your...
Sure, yeah.
Would you expect a number of those a day, or just...
Normal FedEx routes, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you know, so the normal business flow for FedEx, yeah, it's not excessive amount. Again, things that would be coming in on FedEx, maybe small components or office supplies, but nothing outside of the norm that I think any business moving in here would experience.
Okay, and the one other question, the place where you say the trucks are going to drive through and go onto the campus? Yep. Now, you said for regular trucks and fire trucks, does it have a turning radius that a hook and ladder can go around if I have
Yeah,
to?
the hook and ladder, the radius is actually around the base here, we're not relying on going through the building.
Oh, okay.
You're right. So, but we did test it for the largest truck that Durr would use.
Okay.
And then as well as the fire trucks.
Okay, and then to add on to one of the things that the mayor mentioned about working with the community and the schools. The schools have a partnership council, and I'm part of that. I'm representing the city on that partnership council. But businesses throughout the city work with members of the school staff and work with the students themselves to expose them to like job shadowing or some event that they would have at their organization to allow the students to know what kind of jobs are available. It's so I would encourage you to get involved with the partnership council, and it meets during the school year. So I think that's another thing that you can. We're all sitting around here saying we'd like to sing our praises, but it's better when somebody else sings praises for us. So.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Mr. Piper.
The mayor, actually, I'm sitting here thinking, you're gonna complete our portfolio, between Lear, BASF, Eaton, Federal-Mogul, Denso, and a number of smaller companies that we have. So, like my colleagues, I'm really excited that you're coming, what you're doing to a building, an empty building. And this kind of evens the score a little. We've lost a few companies in downtown Detroit, so it's good to see that you're coming here. Besides all these other things, you know, and you probably know this too, but we're the home to the Engineering Society of Detroit, which finds jobs for out-of-work engineers, and partnered with the schools as well as a whole number of city things. So that's another advantage, and they're just about a mile down the road from where you are. Also, on our behalf, you've driven the service drive. You know, it's pretty bad. It's slated to be redone. So I don't know if you knew that, but along with your new entrance and new building, on the city side, what is it, 2016, I think? So you can take that back.
All right.
Great. Yeah, we have I'd like to ask you the same question I asked the previous, would you be willing to put a electric station for electric cars, outlet somewhere?
I was laughing because there actually is one currently with video sellers, but it's currently where the building would be, but I think that's something we can look at and talk about, because they're pretty economical these days. We've done them on several projects, so we can look at that.
No, we'll definitely take note of that. And again, Durr has a pretty strong environmental policy. You know, it's an ISO 14,000 company, so we stay active and maintain that relationship. We'll definitely look at it.
Okay. How would small businesses, licensed contractors possibly bid on the work that's going to be done at the building?
I'll tell you the easiest way is if we're working with a local construction management company, Chrisman out of Livonia. So they have key contacts, and we actually already have companies from the local area inside the building doing our due diligence inspections right now. So we're trying to develop some partnerships, but if we can make a broadcast or notice, they can contact Durr, they can contact myself. I can get them in touch with our purchasing people, they become part of the bid list. Because we do want to engage as many local contractors as possible. There's a lot of obvious reasons, and some of the contractors we're working with now that work on the commercial and industrial side are also people that partner with us on the automotive side. So yeah, we definitely have, there's things in place, but if you have ideas, I can leave my information, contact me anytime, and give me feedback or wherever you want to go with it. I'm the project manager from Durr on the project. Meredith's the project manager from the Smith Group. So between the two of us, we can get to the right people.
Okay, we would love to have our local businesses, small businesses,
Yeah.
get engaged and possibly bid, for some work there. I think that's it for me, Mr. Siler.
Yeah, what is the approximate value of the addition of the construction that you have a figure on that?
The construction budget right now is currently set at $18.3 million.
Also, we are encouraging businesses, especially of this magnitude, to install public art. Perhaps Mr. Crowe has talked to you about that. But a number of new projects that are in the pipeline here have incorporated public art.
Okay.
That's something else I'd like you to consider.
Yep.
Thank you.
Our German team, they had a lot of art that was spread out.
Yeah.
I think, can I show you that rendering real quick? Not to keep talking about it, but it's exciting to me. So we're taking that existing brick and block building, we're going to open up the whole front with glass, and it's really important also for our employees and our corporate image is that it's open to the environment. And the European companies are really in tune with going with green and the environment, not just as a slogan or a saying, but they truly try to introduce as much as they can. So we're going to take that building and open it up, and it's really going to change the entire appearance of what you see there. And that's the Smith Group's envisioned this, and they're helping us put together those details. But I think it's important. The aesthetics of this building are going to completely transform what you see there. Yeah.
Yes, Ken. You have done really, I mean, it's been my goal, and I think the council's goal too, to make this area be a center of the supplier, automotive supplier company. So we have the big three here. Now we have the big three, Leonard, Denso, and Durr.
Right.
So I'm excited about it. You've Norman made my day in talking about the environmental things, and your company represents that. That's excellent.
Great.
But I'm ecstatic about it. To be honest with you. And Smith, I know the Smith company from years ago.
Been around for a long time.
Long time with a very good reputation. Very good reputation. They picked the best.
Yep. And we're really excited. It's another chapter in the history of our company, and this is for the young people coming up. They're going to know this campus, and we came from these segregated suburban areas. And once you truly start to envision what you're doing, it's not just another building. You're centralizing your energies and efforts into the almost the heart of.
Well, we're delighted you've chosen Southfield. I think you picked the right spot. We are the center of it all.
We did a real exhaustive study. We've been looking for almost 2 years now. We've gone all our communities. We did demographic studies of our employees to try and find centralized locations. We did studies of our supplier base and where the activities are, and it put us right here. So.
Well, we need to publicize this really in a big way, and you have. Thank you so much, both of you, for
Thanks.
Mr. Humor, Mr. Zorn.
I think it's important for council. This, from our business development group, I started hearing about this over a year ago. At first it was a European entity, then we're hearing it was a German entity. The governor, when he was in Germany, paid a visit to the Durr leadership. And these are these relations. We had been hearing about this. The DTE building, we had to wait for, it was under option. We had to wait for that option to expire. I want to compliment the staff of the planning group, engineering, everyone to get this to this point. As part of their due diligence, this was moved at record speed. And Mr. Crowe, I think you're under...
About 72 days,
about,
which is under our...
Which is a new record for us. Keep in mind, most of those dates aren't necessarily dates or things that we do. They're public requirements for notices and such, and fulfilling those requirements. I want to thank staff for getting us to this point. We are in a dialogue with their search team regarding incentives. They have approached us. The company has not made a formal ask at this point. The other item that's in play is the service drive. We have funding to resurface that drive starting October 1 of 2016. We have advanced engineering, and we are in a dialogue with the state to move that project up where construction would happen sooner. There will be a finance question we need to resolve, and we'll continue to work on that. In addition, anytime we have a product with this type of magnitude, investment, job potential, and future growth, we then look at the MDOT, the Michigan Department of Transportation, and the Michigan Economic Development grant opportunities. We have identified that stretch on Lasser between Civic Center, 10.5 mile, and 11 mile as a candidate that we would go after enhancement money. The second road would be First Center Street, and looking at that. This site is actually, as Mr. Crowe could point out, in the middle of that, and I believe we could build enough of a nexus of a case. Later on, Ms. Schultz will be talking about our progress on 11 mile and the grant we have, but we have been successful the last few years in picking up those grants. But I think this is an ideal application. We have communicated with the company that we'd like to support. I think it's been said, it's a prime piece of real estate. They're picking it up at an exceptional value because of where the marketplace is. So this is truly a win-win. I always like it when a company takes ownership of their real estate versus using triangulation. Their roots are deeper.
Yep. And you know what would be really great? We have great housing here in Southfield, and if we could get some information to your organization for the homes that are here in the communities and the neighborhoods that we have with the number of employees that are coming in. We'd love to have them consider Southfield
Can I
home.
please just say something?
Mr. Frazier.
Can I just add something?
No.
No, you should
Go
go.
ahead.
Go ahead.
You did say that you give back to the community, charitable, you're charitable to the community. A lot of companies have a focus of what they give back to. Does your company have a focus, or is it pretty broad range?
It's a pretty broad range, but it's everything from support of the local schools through individual programs that we may establish through the local municipalities.
Okay, sorry, because some folks, or some companies focus on education, some on
No, ours is pretty broad. We have everything from, we have a fit group that does things for the breast cancer awareness all the way to Toys for Tots or whatever the case is. So, exactly.
Okay.
No, but we have an HR department that's very aggressive in working with local charities. It's a big part of our company. It's part of our culture.
Okay,
So.
very good, thanks.
Ms. Seymour.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we had, just before this meeting, we had our Community Pride Awards where we honor the beautiful homes and mostly homes, but also some of the larger developments. And I hope we can get a copy of that to you because see how beautiful our neighborhoods are. And
Right.
your people will be quite pleased to want to. We have beautiful, beautiful neighborhoods. I said, Bluefield Hills has nothing on it.
Excellent.
I'd like you to see that.
Thank you so much.
So I pass out, does anyone else need a card, or do you want, okay. Feel free at any time to call me or email me or anything you want to discuss or communicate, and I can get you in touch with the right people.
Right, get a copy of that.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Cornerstone Plaza driveway onto Mount Vernon. And I do understand there are a number of residents that would like to speak on this matter, but first we'll have the presentation by the planner and the petitioner and the Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
For the shopping card?
Yeah, from.
Uncle Sean?
Okay.
I can't understand why people are mad about it, because you know, it's crazy to see that and everything else, and, you know, I don't know if they're doing that meeting. But I said, I don't know why they're here, because unless they get the message. It's just to turn right to the light, it's all they need. We should have caught that when we did the traffic study, we should have caught that.
Can't do that.
There was a problem.
I could do no, that's no fun to do.
You can't go on that driveway and go left,
French fries?
go north.
I don't know if I can do it. French
Yeah, they don't even have to carry school anymore, traffic.
Okay, our last, planning item is site plan 1321, Cornerstone Plaza. Is proposing a new access driveway onto Mount Vernon. The existing shopping center is located on Mount Vernon and Greenfield Road. They have an existing, notch north of their property that's zoned vehicular parking. They currently have, a couple entrances on Greenfield and one on the south here, and they're proposing a new entranceway, which is shown here. And I'm not going to be an expert on talking about traffic. We do have representative that will talk and get into the details about the traffic, but we have Mr. Brian Major, who I'd like to ask to come up to introduce the project, talk about some history of the development, why he's here asking for this at this time, and then you can call on his experts to get into detail.
Okay, can you give us again your name and business address for the record, please?
Sure. Thank you, Terry. My name is Brian Major, on behalf of Cornerstone Plaza, and it's 23675 Greenfield Road. I'm here to discuss the project, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the project, but I'm just going to give you a brief history. The shopping center was developed in 1998, 1999, and it was a large project that was, from the get-go, one of the themes of the project was that we were supposed to be integrated with the neighborhood. They wanted the city wanted a village-type shopping center. With that in mind, we tried to develop a shopping center that would create a village look and be integrated with the neighborhood. That was taken into consideration in the architecture, in the design of the building. The building was developed to look like it was done over time with different uses of brick and different building materials. So that was all considered. The issue that we're discussing today is an access driveway out onto Mount Vernon. Currently, we have the major difficulty in the ingress and egress of the shopping center primarily is customers and patrons of the shopping center who want to exit the plaza and go north on Greenfield. What this causes is backups and things in different parts of the shopping center, but that is the primary focus or the primary issue at hand here. So what we're trying to do is to alleviate that and be proactive and be positive and try to maintain a Class A shopping center that we developed quite some time ago. And again, this is not something that's happened overnight. This is a problem that's been going on for quite some time. We've taken feedback from tenants, neighbors, and everybody around. I have specifically met with 4 4 different meetings, 3 different neighborhoods, the Southfield Homeowners Association, trying to take some of their feedback and some of their questions and comments. The Southfield Homeowners Association was the first one. The second one we met with was the Providence Towers, and we had a pretty good meeting there. And the third one we did was with Pheasant Run. We actually did a 4th meeting as well. That was just a separate meeting specifically for those residents that were on Mount Vernon to address and discuss some of their questions and concerns. Some of the things that we discussed, and you know, not everybody was positive about the driveway, but there were some people that were positive and some people, obviously, that were opposed. Some of the questions and concerns that were raised were, the biggest one was access onto Mount Vernon and people making a left out of the shopping center and trying to head west down Mount Vernon. Residents thought that that would create a lot of traffic and a lot of unnecessary traffic that they just didn't want because of, you know, existing traffic and you know, the school there and things like that. So what we did to try to alleviate that was to make our driveway a right turnout only, meaning you can leave the shopping center. Oh, that's great, thanks, Terry. What we did was put a traffic diverter in here where you can only get out of the shopping center and head east. This is that's the primary reason is to get these people to have access to a traffic light, so that when they hit this traffic light, now they can head north onto Greenfield. So that was a primary solution in trying to alleviate traffic heading that way. What we also did was create a pedestrian path here to better connect this thing to the neighborhood, which I think is a very positive thing. Residents that live in this area now it makes this thing more walkable. And that was one of the things that when we were developing the shopping center was a lasting impression that the people wanted, that the city wanted. They wanted it to be a walkable sort of village shopping center. So I think that also helps. We're going to be putting in this pedestrian walkway right here, and that'll be designated. We also got some feedback from the residents that they'd like to see some bike racks in there. They wanted to see some, you know, places where bikes would be able to be, you know, locked up. And so we added some bike racks. We added the pedestrian path. And we, you know, the primary thing we added was the traffic diverter. Another concern was the truck traffic. Very understandable. Somebody that's in that neighborhood does not want trucks traveling down the street. That is going to be addressed with signage. I don't know if everybody knows or not, but when this shopping center was originally designed, there's a truck path that goes into the shopping center. It's actually, trucks are supposed to come in off of Mount Vernon, and they come in and deliver back here, and then they're scheduled to exit out here. This is going to be posted with signage, etc., and you know, trucks will not be allowed to exit here. So those were some of the things that we kept in mind and feedback that we got from the neighborhoods and going back and forth. So I would open it up to questions.
Okay, we'll have council first, Ms. Seymour.
Are people going to be able to come from the east, the other side of Greenfield, and come through and turn into that?
The entrance on Mount Vernon here, yes, will be accessible from the east and the west. This will allow local neighborhood residents
But from Oak Park, because that's the dividing line between the two communities.
Correct. Yes, well, right now, that will be accessible, because Oak Park Boulevard turns into Mount Vernon right here, so yes, they would be able to.
I think that's the concern of some residents. Had you heard that from them?
It came up once, yeah.
So, according to the plan, leaving will only be a right turn.
Exiting the shopping center would be a right turn only, yes.
But they can come from both ends to enter,
Correct,
east and west.
correct.
I know there are some residents here that would like to speak on
We're
that.
going to have council speak.
I understand that.
Mr. Scott,
You know, I know there has been a lot of concern from the residents on opening up a drive onto Mount Vernon. But, you know, if you go back, and a lot of the people who have been there some time, you remember when there was going to be a liquor store on the corner, and the city filed suit and stopped it, and we ended up with Cornerstone Park on that corner. And when the DDA had this piece of property and offices were vacant, and there was pressure on the multiples, the developer was approached to develop this piece of property, and he had a lot of restrictions on it as far as materials and what was going to be there, and they went ahead and built the shopping center. From what I understand, and I think there's a good cause to believe it, that Kroger's and CVS needs that exit to, or they may not renew their lease. And that's not a threat. That is actually, you know, the way the big boys play anymore. You look at 11 Mile and Lasher, for example, CVS was in the shopping strip. They left the shopping strip and went across the street to the other corner and left that shopping center vacant. I don't see this. I just am very concerned that we maintain the integrity of the shopping center and the businesses that are in it, because the way things are going now, they are really in the driver's seat of where they locate. I mean, Kroger closed down at 15 Mile and Telegraph just like it was nothing. And we do not have, if you look at the city of Southfield, with all the rooftops we have, if you're looking as a businessman, you know, we only have Myers at Telegraph and 12 Mile Road. We have a tiny little, if you want to call it a supermarket down there at 12 Mile and Evergreen. And there's Kroger's. And that's the only shopping centers we have, groceries, in this city. 72,000 people, and we don't have a major chain located even in the center of the city. And it really is disturbing to me that they have ignored the city of Southfield in putting up a Class A shopping center. I thought they were going to go in at not necessarily Walmart, but at 12 Mile and Southfield. I thought since Farmer Jack closed at 11 Mile Road and closed at Southfield at 12 and a half, that there would be an opening for a nice big Kroger store because they are rebuilding all these new types that they would locate there on the corner, and we still don't have a store. Then we have a rumor that Hiller's was going to go there, and that is not to be had. So I just throw up the concerns that sometimes we've got to compromise and try to get the best we can for the neighborhoods, and yet make sure that that shopping center survives. And I know there's a lot of people here that don't like the traffic. I know when Kennedy School was going full blast, you know, the 25-mile speed limit down there was, we had our traffic patrols on there all the time, and it was a concern of the residents. I really have no objection, personally, to helping out, just make sure that this shopping center stays viable, and whatever they can do with the help of the residents, really, to come up with a design that will work so that people can get out of that shopping center and go east. The way it is now, even the treasurer was talking about it at the meeting, to go out that driveway with the north driveway and go north, you have to go right there, and you gotta sit in that middle thing there and wait till traffic clears to get over a lane to go north, which is very dangerous. And I was telling Joan, I don't know why our traffic engineer, and not the right, they didn't see that problem, you know, as they were looking at it, because of the proximity to the light there at Mount Vernon and Greenfield Road. But it has become a problem. It's a dangerous situation getting out of there. And if this cures that, I think it's beneficial to the neighborhood, to the people who shop at the shopping center, and to the city.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else, counsel? Mr. Frazier?
Yeah. Question was asked, can people turn in there coming from the east? The way that that's designed, doesn't look like you can come in, turn in from the west, but you would have to almost make a loop around, almost like a U-turn, if you have that divided.
Right.
So I would say that you couldn't come in there from the east.
Right.
Not, unless you went backwards into the outlane. So if you put up signs that no left turn coming from the east, so that people wouldn't try to come in there.
Right.
We do have the traffic engineer, if you'd like to
Yeah.
have him come up and
Unless
explain it a little
Unless
bit.
it's drawn.
Well, yeah,
That's just
I don't know if
conceptually right now.
I don't know if the drawing does it justice. Maybe that curve would be softened up and it would be made to look like.
Well, my guess is let them turn at the light, and then they'd make a right turn into your place rather than making a left turn on a side street.
It's possible. One of the things we did talk about was trying to create a hard curve, right turn only, so it's not a soft curve where someone could drive over it.
Yeah.
But, again, this is the conceptual plan, and I've asked Mr. Labadie to come up and maybe address that specific issue. And then if you need him to get into more details of the study, he can do that as
No,
well.
it's yes or no, you can make a left.
Yeah, right.
Well,
yeah,
didn't go to college for that long to figure that out.
Mike, if you could give your name and address.
My name is Mike Labadie. I work with Police and Vandenbrink. I'm the one who put together the study that I hope you've all seen. You haven't?
It'll be part of the full package.
Okay. So
Tonight's the study.
right.
Okay. The way this works, this is curved, but this is straight. So you can't, this is a traditional design for making.
Oh, so it's incorrectly drawn.
Well, it's just not big enough for you to see it very well. It's a little bit blurry.
Actually, it is clear on that one.
Okay. So you are going to make a left turn across?
Yes, this left, this right, this left is prohibited because of.
Yes, of course.
Mike, can you just give them a quick rundown on what you discussed in the past regarding the gaps between the traffic? This is probably the most important piece of information regarding the customers coming in and out of the shopping centers attempting to go north on here. The real safety issue becomes in this gap sequence he's talking about. If you could explain that to him?
Sure. Mr. Percassa covered it pretty well. I think that the idea here is that you have the ability to get out here to make a left, but this left, a lot of people make this left, and they try to make this left. These two left turns are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Very dangerous. It seems like,
I'm going to jump in just real quick. There's two left to be made out of here, and I frequent the shopping center probably 2 to 3 days a week, just to pay visits to there and make sure that the shopping center is being maintained properly. This exit out onto Greenfield here on the north end is actually almost never used to get out of the shopping center because of the proximity to the light. So this entrance really doesn't get a whole lot of use. The center entrance out onto Greenfield does tend to get the use, and you can't see it on this drawing, but you can here. What happens is this is where the backups occur at the main driveway, and what ends up happening is that these backups start stacking up cars in here, and people just can't get out. And go ahead, Mike, when you talk about
When I go there, the same thing, I go out to Centerland, but if you're coming in and there's a lot of traffic, now you gotta go all the way back to the back end of the parking lot in order to make a left turn because cars are stacked up. And
If you're going out and making a right, heading south, it's no problem.
Yeah,
But when you
right.
start trying to make a left, then you get this big
right.
log jam over there.
Well, just so you know, the study that you'll see was one that we put together based on a scope that we talked to your traffic engineer, and we did the study that he wanted to see, and so you know that I didn't just come up with this on my own. That we have a big simulation and all that goes with it, which is just good for the engineers, but probably not good for you. The reason these back up, this drive and this drive back up, is because you have 7 lanes you have to try to get across, and it's, the delays are so great because there's so few gaps in the traffic. It's wheel drive, so you know what the challenges are. So, yeah, so the thing about this is that if you open this up, it takes quite a few of these left turns out of these driveways and puts them over here to go back. It's pretty straightforward, simple stuff. So there might be a little bit more traffic in here than there is now. It'll only be to here. People that are going to the center now, are they really going to, aside from the fact that this is prevented, so it seems like a really simple thing to understand. I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, I could really bore you to death with some really bad details, but I don't know if you want that.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah, I know you don't want that. If you can read their report, if you have a hard time sleeping, that'll do it to you. You'll be out in a second.
There are some, unless council has any other questions, there's some comments from the residents here in the audience that'd like to speak, and I know the first individual that approached me was former Councilwoman Barbara Howard. If you could come, and I'm going to allow you 3 minutes to speak, and if you could come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Barbara Kelly, and I live at 15015 Providence Drive. I've been a resident at Providence Drive for about 12 years, and a resident of Southfield for 40 years. Mr. Major and his son have been with our association and gave a real good report. Gave a report on the traffic and also on what they plan to do. I am just one of the oddballs, I think, in the association that I'm for the project because I see where it is beneficial, but I'm not for this this way. I had no idea that that's what they were intending to do. And when I asked Mr. Major about that, he said that it was for convenience. I'm a walker. I walk Providence just about 3 times a week, going this way and this way. I walk Providence this way and this way. So I see the traffic. I see the congestion here, and I know that has to be relieved. But if you have traffic that is going from Oak Park and coming here and coming down this way, there's going to be a traffic jam here. Also, there's a dialysis center right here where cars park, and if you're going to come in here, you're going to obstruct them right here. And there's going to be more jam of traffic right here. I just don't see, you say it's simple, but I don't see the simplicity of it. I really don't see the simplicity of it. And also, there needs to be more monitoring of the cars that stop along the here, Kroger's and CVS.
You're on the wrong end, Barbara. The credit union is on the, and the bank is on the other.
You can't see it, it's down the bottom.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom, okay, okay. So, but you know where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. But there are cars that park right there, and they run in and stop the traffic. There at the Kroger's, they do the same thing, and CVS. I think one of the things that we need is more code enforcement there, but I object to that traffic coming from the east and going west and turning in. You can just see that the traffic, there is loads of traffic, and I looked at the study and I know all about the LOS and all that, but there's traffic, I see the traffic, and it is a lot of traffic here. So you're gonna turn this way, so you're gonna have traffic coming and traffic going in, and I oppose it very much. So I would just like to render my opposition and just put it in writing.
Thank you. All right, we also have Diana Pegler, who is the president of the Southfield Homeowners Association.
Good evening to your honorable body. Diana Pegler, 15640 George Washington, Southfield, Michigan. I'm president of the Southfield Homeowners Association. I echo what Barbara Talley said, the presentation by both majors was very good and informative. It did not answer all of our questions, and the biggest part is the congestion. There is going to be congestion, no doubt about it. I don't know the exact solution, but something that we have not talked about. We want to be good neighbors, and I think that we have done that by supporting the plaza. We supported them when they built it. We're still supporting them each and every day by patronizing those businesses that are there. But no one has talked about the residents that live directly across the street from that entrance. How do they get out of their driveway? How do they get into their driveway if you've got the congestion of traffic? What's the answer for them? What is the value of their property going to be? Mount Vernon is residential and Greenfield is commercial. It's just that simple. And to this point, we have been having a good relationship. But I think that this is going to cause a lot of confusion and congestion, and we just need to think it over a little bit better, because we need to have a win-win instead of a win-loss scenario. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Ontario? All right, please come.
Mac Terrio, P.O. Box 336, Southfield, Michigan, 480G7. I'm a Southfield resident. As Yogi Berra used to say, it's deja vu all over again. There used to be a driveway there. Back in the 1970s, when I didn't have any gray hair, I lived in this apartment. I now have a home right over there. And I could look out my window and see that area. For those of you who may not have been here, there were two high-rise office buildings that were subsequently torn down. At the time, there was a sign here, office buildings here, people left, said no left turn. Totally ignored all the time, they went that way. People complained, put a chain off across there to prevent in or out. Eventually, that driveway was closed off completely and taken out. The reason being, as people before me have said, the congestion. You've got this one to Greenfield, there's one in the middle down here to Greenfield. Not mentioned is one down here to Providence Drive, where people can go out and turn and get the light if they want to go north. The residents who live there, I wouldn't want it right across from there. I don't see how it could be. Why do they not encourage an exit way, which is already there, onto Providence Drive? They could go catch the light, and if they wanted to go north, they could go north. As for the Kroger store there, Honestly, I used to go there. I don't go there anymore. I go to the one on 13 Mile Woodward. And I hate to tell you why now, why I don't go there. CVS, I have no comment. I don't happen to use that situation. But why are we revisiting something that was a problem in the past, was resolved, and now is going to come back to haunt us again? That concludes my remarks, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Gerard Mullen?
Yes, my name is Gerard Mullen. My P.O. box is, P.O.
You don't have it right in front of you.
155. 155.
150, oh yeah, 155.
Here, Mike.
I'm scripted on. I have lived in Pheasant Run since 1968, which is stone's throw away. Very familiar with every aspect of it. Originally, and I worked here since 1961. One of the ways I got to work to Channel 7 back in 61 is that Providence Drive went right through straight to Mount Vernon. It was a dirt road. And maybe only Mr. Facassi is the only one in the room that might remember that. There was some hassle. That's why Providence Drive was curved to get rid of the traffic on Mount Vernon. Then when the previous speaker talked about traffic going out there with those two office buildings, he failed one thing to mention. They also put a diverter. The diverter actually was a traffic hazard because everybody, despite the no left-hand turn, people came in, made left-hand turns all the time. What they did is they curved out, and they curved out this way. And then likewise, they came in this way, and there was no entrance this way. So they curved around here to enter. The diverter creates a traffic hazard. My recommendation, if you're going to put something there, just make it regular stop, because at least it won't be a traffic hazard. And that's my solution. It's been a greater historical problem than most people realize. That originally, Providence Drive originally terminated right at that spot. And many years ago, the city fathers said, let's curb it, keep that traffic off Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, even when it was a dirt road, had a huge amount of traffic. A huge amount of traffic, even when it's dirt road. Now I refer to it as the Mount Vernon Expressway. Okay, it is huge. I don't know what the traffic experts say, but I can tell you I lived there all my life, or most of the last 46 years. And I can tell you, it's hard to cross the street. It's hard to cross the street. There's some spots in Southfield Road that are easier to cross for pedestrians than that Southfield Road. Mount Vernon. It's bad. Even though there's a stop at Estelle, which is nearby, and a stop in front of Kennedy School, and a stop at Rutland. Those stops are kind of ignored. It's pretty bad. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this particular matter?
Good evening, honorable council members. My name is Al Sevis. I'm the director of the DDA. I just want to share some thoughts in terms of the DDA's board's mindset when they approved the removal of the deed restriction. We were very deliberate in our decision, in their decision, and really there were three factors that they looked at. Citizen concerns and safety, they took very close and strong look at that. Safety and well-being of pedestrians and traffic vehicle coming out of the development, as well as the economic impact that would happen here if in fact CVS and Kroger leases, once they expired, decided to look at other locations. We have worked very hard over the course of the last 3 years to bring retail into the district, as well as daytime population. We are slowly succeeding in increasing our daytime population. And when these people come into the district, we need somewhere for them to visit, whether it's shopping, whether it's eating at Panera's, whether it's visiting the bank. Either way, this is a very key development for the district. They've been excellent citizens. They've paid a tremendous amount of taxes to the city. Fred has been a very important part of the DDA's process going forward. So we think that by letting the development not occur, that this would really put at risk some of the tenants in the development, and knowing how hard we have worked to date, it would be extremely difficult to continue to find quality tenants as well. So I encourage you all to think about it and hopefully make the correct decision. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Joanne Henderson, 15540 Mount Vernon, Southfield. I've been a resident since 1995, approaching 20 years. I'm going to read my letter. Prior to the development of the Clock Tower Plaza, to be renamed the Cornerstone Plaza, the community had an extensive participation, and there were two oppositions. Number one, not to zone as residential. Number two, no entry driveway onto Mount Vernon Street. Since that time, this area has oversaturated its population density as it relates to its road capacity. Mount Vernon Street, also known as 9.5 miles, is a two-lane residential street that runs eastbound and westbound. It acts as a major artery between Greenfield and Northwestern Highway. Traffic flows from Greenfield Road, Southfield Road, Oak Park Boulevard, and four major highways, I-696, M39, M10, and Northwestern Highway onto Mount Vernon Street. Currently, school buses, 12 and 16-wheeler trucks commence to commute on Mount Vernon Street, therefore adding more traffic. The traffic is hazardous. When backing my car out of the driveway and driving into the driveway because of congestion, it's very hazardous. Now, 16 years later, the traffic overall has increased due to an increased population growth with residential development and employees working in the Cornerstone District area. Local Southfield residents are dealing with this problem every day in support of Cornerstone Plaza and its tenants. An entry driveway onto Mount Vernon is not the answer. It will further back up the traffic and increase the existing problem. Rezoning from residential to commercial will not be in the local residents' best interest. Our property value will decline, and also the sale of our properties will become more difficult. Real solutions are needed to improve the traffic flow.
And you have 15 seconds.
A dedicated traffic light will help facilitate the traffic flow and to enhance the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? All right, Council, we have some discussions. Mr. Cox.
Madam Chair, I guess I'd like to hear, somebody from the residents, are they willing to not have a grocery store and a drugstore there? Is it going to be that much of an inconvenience? And where would they shop? And most of the traffic that's on Mount Vernon, yes, it is a half-mile road, and we have that situation that all of you have Winchester up to where I live, and you have Webster up there in Cranbrook. The city, the way it developed, did not have half-mile roads, we had mile roads, and I think the fellow that built those houses was Mr. Silver, and we tried to get him to put back up to Mount Vernon as opposed to front on Mount Vernon, and he built those homes the way he did. But, you know, the city bought that corner because they were gonna put a liquor store there, and they were gonna have an access on, if you've seen their site plan, onto Mount Vernon, and we couldn't stop them. And they had an exit onto Greenfield. And, gentleman spoke about Providence Drive, that's absolutely right. It was going right up to Mount Vernon. At that time, we thought that we could keep the traffic off of Mount Vernon, and that's why it curves out to Greenfield Road. But we don't have, you know, the city way it's developed, we don't have section line roads north and south. We don't have enough roads that go east and west, and so they become collector streets. And that presents a problem to the city because, you know, we heard Edward Street, for example, where we had this first item on the agenda tonight, and that made that a one-way street from Lathrop Street to Southfield to try to stop people from going from Greenfield on Edward Street all the way to Southfield because they couldn't all fit on 12 Mile Road. So it's just been a predicament to the city because, like I said, if we had developed with half-mile roads that were at least 3 lanes, we wouldn't have the problem that we have today. But the situation is that what we have. And but I'm very concerned about not having a grocery store and drugstore at the convenience of neighbors. I think if you took a survey of that whole area, I'm sure they shop at the grocery store and they go into the drugstore because I don't know where else they would go. You know, I live at 12 Mile in Lasher, and I don't have a grocery store to go to. I got the Myers, but you know, that's the Myers. But the only one I can go to is 15 Mile in Lasher, the Kroger's. And I just feel bad that we do not have our choices of places to shop, to grocery shop. And you know, we're 72,000 people, like I said, and 140-some-thousand people during the daytime. And we don't have things. And I look at other cities that have lost their stores, and which have popped it up by these small stores, and then say the convenience stores to make up for not having grocery stores. And I just would hate to have, you know, and I'm not trying to be on the side of the shopping center, but I am a grocer, and I know that if I don't have ways in and out, I won't have customers. And I feel sorry because I think it's a beautiful shopping center. I wish they had built that shopping center at 12 Mile in Southfield because its design and architecture is just great. But anyway, I guess this thing has been a sore spot for years. But I am for alleviating the dangerous turn out of that north driveway onto northbound Greenfield, one way or the other. And whatever it takes, I have to be for it because there's no alternative. There's no alternative to it. And I think people there should try to just help make that a safe driveway. You know, and the person who said that this driveway goes right into the houses, you know, I drive to Troy quite a bit because my office is over there, and you go 14 Mile Road, or Greenfield right into 14 Mile Road, and you run right into a $200,000 house. I mean, they even put a big boulder there so you don't go through the front door. And they just built a brand new house there, just next to Greenfield, and and 14 Mile Road. I mean, those people have to get in and out, and they still, you know, and what's the difference between Birmingham and Southfield? It's, you know, if it's not good for Southfield, why is it good for Birmingham? I just think that, you know, we're hearing people opposing an exit onto Mount Vernon, period, and I guess the choice is either it goes or you have to maybe see what the circumstances will be.
Mr. Major, can you confirm that if the tenants are in jeopardy, if there's no relief for the traffic and congestion?
Yes, ma'am. I can confirm, I had spoken to the tenants, the representatives, store managers, and I have asked them to, you know, whether or not this is an issue. I mean, this has actually been driven from them. So I do have, you know, written documentation that shows that this is a concern. Some other things I might add is that, you know, everybody is afraid of change, and I understand that this is some change. And you know, what if we do nothing? What's going to happen? You know, I can't tell. I don't think anyone here will be able to tell. But we've done nothing for this long, and you know, maybe it's time for some change, and maybe we can see what happens. And obviously, it is a concern, and it's been going on for quite some time. Again, I said this is not something that's happened overnight. This has been a concern ongoing, and we're trying to address those concerns. And it is an important issue, not only to the tenants, but the residents as well. It is a community, it is a neighborhood, and, you know, all things have to be considered. So I understand there are concerns, we try to address them, and, you know, there's a lot of valid points that have been made, and we've had the discussion. So I would ask that you know, everybody take into consideration everything, and you know, let's try to address the issues. So, if there are any other specific
We do have
questions?
some other questions. Mr. Cyber.
I'm thinking about other places that I've been, where there's a mix of retail that serves the residents and there's housing close by. And I'm thinking of some things I've seen where, and the only way I can do this, they put a boulevard here, a median that you can't cross, so that people, I certainly do not favor anybody coming this way and into here, because then you're crossing over traffic just like you are here. I'd be more receptive to out only, but one way to block people from coming in here would be to put a landscape median in the center of the street. That would divert, I mean, obviously there's cost to that. However, you know, Mount Vernon is a street that needs replacement, and perhaps in the future this could be part of the replacement. Or perhaps the shopping center would contribute to, as we've had some of the other businesses contribute to a median, maintenance of a median. That way it would protect the residents, it would also be safer, and would prevent people from turns that you don't want them to make. Sure. I mean, that's just a suggestion, I'm not saying that.
Can I address that specifically?
So
what we originally
Excuse me,
proposed...
we've got a lot of discussions going on at the table and in the audience. We could get silence, please. Thank you.
Okay, so just to touch on that point, originally what we did discuss was this driveway being a full access driveway. In other words, you could, you know, turn in right and left, and then be able to turn out right and left and head either way. I would like to bring that up because there's been some questions and concerns about traffic coming in here. What we have right now is, assuming you're coming east and want to head into the shopping center, this traffic is already flowing on here, okay, they can come into the center. If you're heading north or south on Greenfield, you're not going to turn into Mount Vernon to come down here. So really, the only cars or the only people that we're talking about that would make this left turn would be those that are traveling on Oak Park Boulevard, crossing over here. I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm told that peak hours traffic going this way is 20 to 30 cars. That amount of people, not all 20 to 30 cars, of course, would be turning into the complex. If you did have one or two cars coming in here, I think the convenience of them being able to come in would far outweigh. I mean, these people are traveling along here anyway. If they happen to turn in, so be it. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And again, that is something that you know, we do have numbers, and the study has been done there. So that is something that I would also like, you know, to just put out there. So as far as the comments that you made about the boulevard, I think that's a good idea. I just don't know if that's economically feasible. And then you get into issues with the you know, who controls the road. I believe is that Oakland County and city. And one more thing I'd like to make a note of that I did discuss with the residents. If this is something that is done, there is a traffic signal here. There's been talk of, you know, some backups and things like that. What they will do here, and what I even propose to the residents, is that I would go out and help them fight for fixing this traffic signal. Because what happens is, if you're ever down here and you try to get out at Providence Drive, the timings are very long. You might sit at Providence Drive for 2 minutes, and you're just sitting there saying, you know, what's going on here? Well, what they will do is do a traffic signal optimization, so that's something that may help, you know, overall. Something that may be a problem now will be addressed, and with the traffic signal being optimized, that could actually be a positive and help some of this, you know, some of the congestion. So I think that's something that could be very positive. With, you know, if we do nothing, obviously that signal will stay the way it is, and you know, things might get better there at that signal. So
I have
Ken,
one more question.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something that you mentioned. The 10 Mile and Telegraph Shopping Center, it goes out like that onto Groton Drive, and there's a boulevard there that Ozone now maintains, but you can turn left or right into it, but it goes beyond the, so you're not curing anything, but it just goes down the road a little bit. But they put an access on their side too.
One other thing I'll add, and I'm just going to throw this in there, but today when shopping centers are being developed, a lot of times they're done under a PPP or things like that. They want to, in some cases, integrate these shopping centers with residential behind it. It makes it more walkable. It makes it more neighborhood. So that's another positive that I just wanted to throw in there. That's something that could be actually beneficial to the neighbors in the neighborhood. Lots of walkers.
I had one more question. You said you did the outreach, the 4 meetings. Can you tell me what the attendance was at those meetings?
Sure.
And I want a sense of how many people have you talked to?
Well, at the first one we did was Southfield Homeowners Association. That was with Diana's group, and they had a really good turnout there. It was an association meeting, and I spoke at that meeting as a guest. I would say there was 40 people there. The next one we did was with Providence Towers with Ms. Talley, and she had a really good turnout there, probably about 25 people. 32 people, and you know, we heard some positives and negatives there as well, but the third one we did was with the actual residents on Mount Vernon, where we mailed out a notice to every resident on Mount Vernon. That one was probably 15 to 20 people. And then the last one we did was with the Pheasant Run. I would say there was probably about 15 to 20 people there as well.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is when you've got a range of opinions, and so, you know, we weren't there, but how negative were these meetings? I mean, did you, are you coming to us, you know, basically my question is, are you coming to us because you want this, even though you heard a lot of negative, or did you have a lot of support?
Well, I think it was a little bit of both. There were some negative, comments. I think those same people were at, all of the meetings or most of the meetings. So I think you're going to have those that are most, in opposition to it probably voice their opinions the most and come out the most. I think somebody that's positive and thinks this would be a good thing is probably not going to show up and just say, hey, I like the driveway, let's do it. So.
And finally, we received a letter from Southfield Homeowners Association, and they have a number of questions. Did you get a copy of this letter?
I did not know.
Maybe Ms. Pegler could, I'd like to see her questions answered.
Okay.
That are on here. I think that would go, clear the air for everybody.
Okay. Maybe that's something that we can do at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I shop at that cul-de-sac, because I live not too far from the north, and, I get, when you try to get out of that driveway, the problem is, you've got traffic coming from both ways, and you're trying to get into the middle lane. And it is a problem, but it doesn't take much to go down to Providence Drive, just drive south a little bit, and then Providence, the lights are a little long. But the easy way, a couple minutes, is that such a big deal out of your day? You can turn, you can get out of there with the lights on Providence Drive very easily. The only way that I would want to see that driveway is if it was out only, because there's no reason for people to come from the other side, from the east side. They can certainly come in and turn. Turning in is not a problem. Making a left-hand turn and coming south and turning in is not a problem. That would have to be out only, I think, for the sake of the residents. But it's a bit of a problem to try to get out in the middle. There's no question, because you've got, you're trying to wait for you're trying to juggle to get in there. It could be dangerous for some drivers. So the only way I could favor that is if it was out only. But there again, if people were encouraged to go to Providence Drive, people want to take the shortcut, so then I don't want to do that. But it's got to be resolved so that it's safe for the neighborhood. That's my bottom line.
I have a question for the individual that did the traffic study. How did you weigh having the exit to the right as opposed to a stop sign? I tend to agree, and I know this may be history tonight with Mr. Gerard Mullen, that maybe a stop sign would be better for the traffic as opposed to the right turn only and having people loop around and turn left. That's my only concern about the way it's done.
I don't exactly understand the question.
No diverter. Did you consider having just a stop sign?
Oh, that's what the study's based on. And if you want the expert's opinion, even though I'm just an engineer here, but if I were being responsible for that, I would make that a full movement driveway, because it's safer for everybody. If you live over here and you come to the center, which I would guess a lot of folks do, how do you get back? You're the ones that have to risk your life to get out on Greenfield Road, turn left to get back to go north again. Why? This is going to be far better. There's one big thing about this that maybe we're missing, and I think we need to understand, or everybody needs to understand, is that the center's been there a long time. It's fully occupied. It has a demand. Traffic volumes are not going to go up because of this. They're going to stay the same. The traffic patterns to and from the center are what they are. What we did, based on the request of your engineer, is looked at what would this do and does it make sense? And we found two big problems. Yeah, people can go down to Providence Drive, but a lot of them don't. It's been there forever. Okay? So they're out there, and by the way, you're not supposed to get into the middle lane. You're supposed to go all the way across. You're not allowed to do that either. They could ticket you for that if you wanted to. But the idea is that we are alleviating the dangers and making it more convenient for the people that come and go there now. I know there's about 20 people, 20 patrons, we think, that come here from this direction now to get here, that would go back that way and make this left. That's about it during the peak hour. You're reducing these left turns a lot. It's something you need to do. It's good traffic planning, it's good shopping center planning, that's just the way to do it. If we did not change anything, it's not as though we're putting in a new center. We counted all those driveways, we counted all the movements, we know which way everyone's going. I'm going to have to probably bore you at the city council meeting with all the data, just to make sure that you understand that we studied all these movements, and the danger ones that could be relieved by this we put over here. Some of them, not all of them. So it makes really good sense to make this a full movement driveway. In fact, I think a couple of planning commissioners think that same thing because they told me that after the meeting last 2 weeks ago or whenever we were here.
I guess that I see the validity of opening it up as opposed to having it right turn only, and then you get people just making that a legal turn, and you're back to just.
I wouldn't want to drive a snowplow around
I
that.
think he makes an important point. This is a measurable or a quantifiable amount. This is not, okay, we're going to open up the driveway, and all of a sudden you're going to have 10,000 cars going up and down there. This is a measurable, quantifiable amount. The traffic patterns are studied in and out of the center. It's something that can be, measured. It's something that's predictable.
What we did, just so in the study, you'll see there's all these tables in there talking about levels of service and delay and stuff like that. If you have a good level of service, A, B, C, or even D, that's a movement that's somewhat acceptable. But if you have E's and F's, those are long delays. And if you're sitting at a location for a long time, sitting up here and you want to make a left turn, eventually what you're trying to do is get into gaps on Greenfield Road, the two-way traffic. Eventually, some people decide, you know what, I'm going to make that gap, and off they go, and that's when you end up with problems. So those are the trips that got reassigned here. You'll see all the other movements at all the other locations, they're working well, and they didn't get reassigned. No new, to be honest with you, I don't really see any new traffic over here. There's going to be more cars over here, I'll give you that, that's true. So,
Mr. Frazier.
Now, listening to what you're talking about, you did a fairly exhaustive study on the traffic patterns and all. Did you take a look at how many accidents took place coming out of the
right, there were quite a few.
Was quite a few.
I don't have the number.
If I was in a car, one is quite a few.
That's true. Right. I'll bring that with me next time.
I think that would make a convincing argument.
Okay.
Sure. Because if you're trying to relieve the number of people that are trying to shoot the gap by putting another driveway in, that does make a big difference.
Right.
So.
Okay, sure. I will have that next time.
Fender benders are one thing, but T-bones sometimes don't end up as fender benders.
Right, that's kind of what happens here.
Thank you.
So basically, council, we have congestion versus health and safety versus the loss of revenue and potential retail tenants that are there. I guess we need to think about, do we want to open it up or do we want to leave it as is? Even some discussion on that, Mr. Moss.
From my experience driving down Mount Vernon, the worst part of Mount Vernon is not at Greenfield, it's at Southfield Road. So I don't know that I see such a traffic problem emerging, on this end. I think that something actually needs to be done on the other end of Mount Vernon, because every day, I avoid Mount Vernon because it cuts through for me, but I don't even do it because it's between certain hours of the day, you can wait at that light to get onto Southfield Road. So I think with the residents' experience seeing traffic on Mount Vernon at the west end, I don't think that's going to be replicated on the east end with this. I think it's going to be negligible, more cars at best. But I would be frustrated if I was a resident of that area with what goes on the Southfield Road. So I know I'm kind of shifting gears, because I probably would support this plan. But as an aside, now that we're having the discussion, something has to be done about Mount Vernon and Southfield Road. And that's totally separate from what goes on here, in this plan, but I think that needs to be a discussion for the future.
Can you finish this one up first?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Seymour.
You know, there's no question that it's very dangerous going out, trying to get out with the, the cars coming, but it really is bad. Is it definite that we would lose the business, that Kroger's would leave, and these, I mean, do we know that those businesses will leave if this isn't corrected?
I don't think that's a certainty. I don't think, you know, I know that it's a concern. I know that it's a concern, and it's affecting, you know, business, but it's not just about, you know, it's not just about business versus neighborhood kind of thing. It's you know, it's more than that, and this has been going on for such a long time. There is no predictability to say if they're going to come or go. You know, I don't have a crystal ball on that, but I know that we've sat here and done nothing for a long time, and I'm trying to invoke some positive change.
Well, I mean, the concern seems that what we're being told is, or the implication is that there's going to be a loss of business if we don't do something. Does that mean people are going to stop coming?
Well, I think you're already seeing people that don't come there. You know, as he said, as Mike said, you have people that look at these gaps and say, you know what, I think I can make it. Well, out of all those people, when the next time they decide to visit, they might just say, you know what, I don't want to visit there. It's too difficult. I don't want to go down to Providence Drive and wait 2 minutes at the light if I want to run in and out of CVS and pick up a prescription. And, you know, that's what ends up happening. And you can see that in terms of sales and business and that kind of thing. So I don't think it's inevitable, but, you know, I have seen those indications. I have seen signs. And that's just a reality. So
let me just ask a question about Providence Drive. Is that light situation not solvable?
It's probably a better
It can be improved a little bit, but not enough to make that much of a difference. I think, can I just throw one little thing in while you're trying to
I mean, I'm trying to look at all these things
I
and see
understand.
which is the most important, but, you know.
The most important, from the traffic engineer's standpoint, is, I mean, it's certainly ease of access and things makes businesses go, and that's good stuff.
Right.
But you have a traffic safety issue here, too, that you should be thinking about almost more than anything else as a city. I mean, certainly you have to kind of keep all these priorities straight and balance them out. I understand that, but there is traffic safety issues with these long delays.
I'm well aware of it. I do go there. I'm well aware of what it is.
Yeah. So that's an issue that I think also needs to take place, maybe even higher.
I think it's a big issue. I mean, I don't want to make a decision because one of the tenants is going to leave.
Right.
My concern is because I've been there. I've done that. I mean, you've got traffic coming like this, and there's no way you can get out because there's no light in the middle. You know, too close to the intersection. So I totally understand that is a danger. You want to go north.
Right.
But
in regards to that, I also, which I did provide before, but some of these letters have been updated and they should be in a package. What would be the most important losses to the shopping center would be Kroger and CVS because they are considered anchor tenants. If one of the other tenants left due to the traffic, it probably wouldn't affect the shopping center as much. But if one of the anchor tenants does leave, that creates a domino effect because all the leases are tied to, in other words, if Kroger ends up vacating, pretty much every other tenant in the shopping center can terminate their lease. So.
No, I understand, but I mean, we're being told that it could affect business and they could leave. Safety is the real issue.
Yeah.
It's got to be the real issue. And that, of course, could influence the tenants to feel like, you know, the people are complaining, they don't want to come. I don't know.
Well, I think you asked a good question if it's a measurable type thing, but if somebody is not showing up there because it's difficult for them to get in and out or patronize the center, that does show up, and that shows up.
That's what I'm
in-
saying,
yeah.
do we know that?
Oh, yeah, well, it shows up in some of the tenant sales.
Okay,
So,
okay, that's what I want to know.
and through the feedback from their, from their managers and whatnot, from their.
Mr. Frazier?
Councilman Perkowski made a point early on in this discussion that I think needs to be revisited, as far as the number of opportunities that people have to do grocery shopping. A few years ago, we had Farmer Jack's at 12 Mile in Southfield. We have and everybody that goes into a Kroger's doesn't buy meat and bread. They also buy toilet paper and other things. They used to have a Kroger. They used to have a Kmart at over in Oak Park in the Lincoln Shopping Center.
Yeah.
And next week you won't have a Kmart at Telegraph in 7 Mile. That's closing October the 12th. Used to have one a Kmart at 8 Mile in Beach. Used to have a Farmer Jack's at 10 in Telegraph. Yes, at Lebanon and Losser. So Lebanon and Losser at Harvard Road. So the opportunity is getting less and less. And if anybody thinks that these stores won't close up if they aren't making money, or if there's some problem, we're fooling ourselves, because we have all of this information already. So safety is one thing, but in a grocery store, the volume is one of the things that keeps a grocery store going, because the margin is so little that they need the volume. If people stop coming there, they can easily make the decision, I'm going to, at the home office, I can put my money someplace else where I can make more money on volume. And I don't think it's any secret that there are some other problems in that shopping center. As hard as we work trying to keep it the kind of a shopping center that people will feel comfortable coming to, but for years, and the police have worked at it, and that is the people that are begging for, that are irritating people that want to go into shopping. Who wants to go where, they have to go through a gauntlet of people asking for money on the way in, and if it, when it gets dark, they get a little leery about it. So we need to do whatever we can to make it as convenient as possible for customers to come into there. And I think making it a full service driveway is probably better than what it is that we started out, because it does solve safety problem. Although I think anybody that's coming from Oak Park and if they've been doing it for years, they're automatically going to make a left turn at the intersection, and make a right turn rather than go straight across and make a left turn.
This is the one I like.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
Yeah, because otherwise you come all the way around. So I tend to agree that it's a positive to put that driveway in.
Mayor Lauren?
There is another side to the congestion that hasn't been brought up. For those people who do not want to go out and risk being that backup and risk the safety issue, there is almost always a pile-up in front of the end where the credit union is, on the other end. There is a pile-up there, and you try to park your car and walk into that Kroger during peak time. It's you're dodging traffic. And the other part of that, if I had to go through all that to get down to the CVS, I'm not going to that CVS. It's an inconvenience, because if I don't, and there are times you avoid the backup, because you don't want to sit there, so you either have to go all the way down to the Providence part, and you could live right off of Mount Vernon. You have to drive all the way down there to safely come out and to go back around. So there's a lot of things happening because there is not another way out, and I'm sure that CVS suffers, and they're counting the numbers because they do not have access to their store. But there's a lot that's happening on that other end, and I've seen fender benders and angry people because they're trying to cross and people yelling at them. You know, it's like, don't you see me crossing? So there's a lot of things happening on the other end that are safety issues because there is not another way out.
Right.
So, you know, I agree that the open concept versus that would probably be safer. And if we were talking about, you know, we've had these discussions where it's a vacant lot and we're adding new volume. And so residents can say you're adding new volume to it. This has been here all the time. This is traffic, and even, they're going to go down Mount Vernon if they need to go, even if they got to go out to the track, turn left and go down there. So we're not creating new volume. So I can, you know, I know, because I go to that store, and I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, I walked the store, and I talked to the owner about picking up litter. We talked about it at the DDA board meetings, because we want this Kroger. It is critical for quality of life in Southfield that we have grocery stores. It is critical. And you know, I think we should speak up louder about the quality of the stores we have. And it hurts me when I hear our own elected officials leaving the city because they feel what's here isn't at their standard. It's our city, and we should fight for that standard, and we should be using every power we have to support that. But I do feel that there's a lot of things that, you know, no one mentioned what happens at that other end, because you try to come into that exit, and you have to understand you have Providence Hospital, you have all of those apartments that are coming off of Providence Drive trying to go in that one opening. And that traffic, go there for lunch, because I love Panera Bread. Try to go there at lunch, and it just is like a runway, dodging between cars. So I see some value, and I was concerned about that turning situation, and I think if we opened it up, made it a stop sign, and opened it up, it would be a safer environment.
So we really need to decide, council, just a consensus, we need to give some direction in terms of the driveway, if we want to open it up, which is really what the preference is for the traffic engineer.
For me it is.
Open and,
Can I ask one more?
Sure.
Has any thought been given to just exit only? That way you wouldn't have to go out on Greenfield, just an exit only. And you know, I know this isn't popular with everybody, but they have those grills that'll do tire damage. If you go, I'm serious. They use them.
It'll be our residents that'll be mad at us.
Well, you know, there are people behind me that don't want this. I'm just trying to think out of the box a little bit about. I see the traffic problem. I've experienced it myself. Matter of fact, I shop mostly at Foodland on 8 Mile, which is a good grocery store.
It is.
We haven't managed it. And I'm thankful for the Denot brothers being in Southfield. But I do go to Kroger, I do go to the restaurants here, the CVS, because they're relatively near my house. But that is an alternative, just make it out only and have some impediment to, if you cross it, there go your tires. And they put big signs up, you know, it could be done, you know.
I don't know if Mr. Major wants that insurance.
all right,
I'm just putting out something else.
Sort of bring this, everybody may not be speak on this matter. So let's go around the table and just get a consensus, if you'd like to leave it as is, or if you'd like to open it up, and we can go from there. And we'll start with you, Mr. Moss. Open or leave it is?
I will say open, and I'll say this because anyone, I think, who's concerned about traffic increasing on Mount Vernon, one person will turn left out of Mount Vernon and go to Southfield Road once before they never do it again and it's such a bad traffic light. So I really don't think there's gonna be a repeated people turning left to cut through because it's such a mess on the other end. So I say open it up and make it a traditional stop and go for it.
Mr. Sykes?
I'm concerned about people are crossing 3 lanes on Greenfield to go north. Again, my druthers would be exit only, so I guess if I had to choose one or another, I'd say open.
Mr. Frazier?
I say, let's open it up and let the engineers, the experts decide whether it's 2 ways or 1 way.
I would say open it up, but I think I agree with Ken on the exit only. I think that would simplify a lot. Because that's where the problem is, the exit's not coming in.
Open it up with a stop.
I agree. I think opening it up with the stop is good. So that's where we are, and we'll have this move forward to the October 20th agenda. But, Mr. Zorn, I've got some questions with what's been raised in terms of code enforcement and just what happens on the inside of the shopping center. What can we do there to get tickets more, have more police presence?
Regarding traffic control, I did make a note that I'll speak with the police chief regarding the enforcement efforts. And if I may, we're a few weeks away from seeing the environmental assessment on Southfield Road. And I know each of those intersections, Mount Vernon was looked at, and there is a tremendous amount of activity happening at that intersection. But that environmental assessment looks at every half mile, every mile road, and I think that's something everyone along the Southfield corridor should have their eye on. It's a major proposal and project, because a lot of that design is towards putting a boulevard in Southfield Road.
Mr. Major, what can you do to provide more crosswalks or stripes, or just to make it better for those that are traveling from their car into the stores in the shopping center?
Well, we could, is there any particular stores or all of them?
The Panera Bread, the Kroger,
What we
you
actually
have to
did,
dart traffic,
yeah,
right?
what we actually did at Kroger was having an issue, so what we actually did was we installed stop signs before and after the Kroger entrances. So we put 2 stop signs up there. There are stop signs out by Panera and CVS as well, so we actually have 3 separate stop signs going in both directions. We could probably maybe designate the pavement, better striping, maybe even put in some decorative concrete or something just to delineate, which is what I'd like to do. And if this driveway were approved, you put in a sidewalk and then have maybe a different colored sidewalk going across the driveway. It sort of lays out a roadway for everyone.
We have that standard.
As long as you're here, frequently when I go to Kroger, I think the dirtiest part of that store is the produce section. I was in there the other night, and the floor is filthy.
This is something that we addressed at some of the neighborhood meetings and elsewhere. What I proposed was, because I've heard some of these issues, what I proposed was maybe something with the DDA, where we get a DDA meeting maybe once a year or twice a year with the actual store management, just to voice neighborhood concerns. I mean, it is a neighborhood store, so if they're having issues, maybe once or twice a year, we open up a meeting at Panera Bread and have residents come in and talk with the Kroger operations people about the store, what questions, concerns, new products, things like that. So I think that's something I was consider. I also wanted to thank everybody for taking the time out, and I know it's been a long night. I appreciate your time and everyone else, and I appreciate the comments. So
we still have a few more questions. Mr. Zorn.
Because to council, we've got the consensus, but I'm going to ask that one of our traffic engineers be involved in this. I mean, the fact is, it's their hired engineer who's making this recommendation. I just want to run it through. I understand the consensus and the direction, but if there are other traffic calming things that can be done, there wasn't much discussion regarding light and deflection that might be the other element of those cars in the maneuvering. So we'll work with our in-house traffic engineer and one of our consulting engineers.
Good. Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, one of the things that, speaking about the same thing that Mr. Cyber was talking about, I was at a Providence Tower meeting early in September, and the new manager of Kroger's was there, introduced himself and said that he had planned on putting a lot of money into cleaning up the store and making some improvements in the store. So supposedly that's on its way, but I have the same concerns as Councilman Cyber. The times when I go in there that, geez, I could have gone to someplace else.
Right.
But I also had the same problem with Myers. You go into Myers and, that's supposed to be one of their better stores, and you never, half the time I can't find what I'm looking for because the shelves are empty. So, yes, yeah. So, hopefully it will get cleaned up, because there's nothing worse than going into a grocery store that is not very clean. And if the manager doesn't have a good idea of what a store ought to look like, you got to go up to 15 Mile in Lasser. That looks like the cover of this is how a store should look. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is the proposed ordinance to adopt the Michigan Motor Carrier Safety Act, and that's going to be presented by Attorney Vernon.
Good evening, Honorable Council, Madam Chair. I'm Dawn King. I'm one of the Assistant City Attorneys for the Southfield City Attorney's Office, and you guys met me, so I wanted to talk to you about an ordinance that we want to adopt. It's the Motor Carrier Safety Act. For years, we've had motor carrier safety officers, and I have two here in the back that are going to answer any questions that you may have. But basically, you know that they're enforcing the Michigan Motor Carrier Safety Act, but when they would enforce it, all the revenue went right back to the state of Michigan. So what we want to propose tonight is that we adopt it for the city of Southfield, because now when they enforce it, of course, our number one reason is for the safety of Southfield when these commercial vehicles are driving on our roads and our highways, as Lodge and 696. And so what happens is now when they stop these individuals, they have the training, so they're looking for the things that they know are in violation of the Motor Carrier Safety Act. They're not just driving, patrolling and saying, oh, I think I'm going to stop this commercial vehicle. We have 6 officers now, 4 that have recently been trained specifically to know when they see these type of vehicles driving that they know what to look for. And so therefore, when it happens, actually the way the ordinance has been adopted, or what we're adopting from the Michigan Motor Carrier Safety Act, it's mostly civil infractions that range, I believe, from $250 to $500. I don't believe there's any misdemeanors. I know we had some discussion about that, Councilman Frazier about that, but it's civil infractions. And again, our number one issue is safety, but I did talk with the court administrator, and she explained to me, first of all, the fine that will be charged, 70% will come to the city, 30% will go to the county library fund. The cost, she said, for example, right now, just say Beverly Hills, who has already adopted this Motor Carrier Safety Act, I believe that 1/3 goes to Beverly Hills, and then the 2/3 comes to the funding unit, which is Southfield. Once we adopt it, we get all the costs. So with that, I do have Sergeant Barr and Officer Mark Zash, who are 2 of our Motor Carrier Safety officers. I will open it up for questions at this point.
Okay, sure.
I read that, I'm not familiar with the act, and what kind of things are they getting tickets for?
Mostly what we target is safety. We're concerned mostly about our trucks. We're not considered too much about their weights and measures and stuff like that. If something's grossly overweight, then we can deal with that. Mostly we're concerned with the safety of the trucks. So we look for fire extinguishers. We look for their brake connections. We look for bald tires, we look for all kind of connections to the trucks. Top tarps that are not properly stretched down, so the stuff flying out, smashing cars coming down the street. We can stop them from all that. We've been doing this for 16 years, actually. We've had motor carrier for 16 years, and it's always been going to the state. I just sent 4 more of my guys, so that makes 6 of us total now that are motor carrier certified. We're not going to go out and target trucks. We're not going to go out and start abusing trucks. We're just doing it as our normal course of business. Mostly what we focus on, what we've always focused on, is the safety. We want these trucks to travel through our city safely. We want them to come here. The new company coming in, they're going to bring trucks. That's fabulous. We know the good companies, we know the bad companies, so we focus mostly on the safety stuff, the tires, all of that stuff.
Thank you. That clears it up.
Anyone else? Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, now, when Ms. King was talking, she said that, you'd be patrolling 696 and the lodge, and I thought the state police did this.
We have authority to go anywhere in our city. State police does do those. Their motor carrier doesn't really get down to our city very much at all. They run mostly 275 and stuff. We can run trucks anywhere.
Okay.
Telegraph, 8 Mile, and any of the freeways, yes.
Okay, and you talked about the training that you have, and I'm going to create a situation. Supposing a truck is going down the road and it's belching smoke, and you decide to pull it over because it's an environmental problem. Are your people trained so that once they have a vehicle stopped, they can look for subsequent kind of problems? For instance, the guy that tried to sneak across the Canadian border with 1,000 turtles in his pants. You know?
Yeah, we have cross training. We have drug interdiction. We have trained drug interdiction. We're also trained in just any other violations go with it. The drivers, all their logbooks and stuff like that for safety. But yes, the loads that they carry have to be certified. They have to provide logbooks to us. They have to provide where they're carrying, where they're coming from. Anything suspicious, yes, we're drug and contraband, shall we say, trained. So that is one part of the commercial motor vehicle that we have not dealt in much. But now we have enough of us where we would have a couple people be able to do trucks at a time, which makes it safer for us to do that. And yes, we are cross-trained, drug interdiction and contraband interdiction.
Okay, the other question is, I know trucks go by axle weight and maybe total weight.
Combinations.
Yes. You have to have a driver's license for driving trucks over 6,000 pounds, I guess it is. Yeah, but at what weight do you start the motor vehicle or the truck? Your group get?
Well, there's a couple different levels.
Yes.
And Mark has been doing this for 15 years, so he's going to be a little better at this than I am. I just took over this whole unit about 3 years ago. 26,000 basically is your big braking trucks.
Okay.
When you start talking about your commercial motor vehicles with your semis and your trailers, and that kind of weight goes up, whether it's dual trailers, all that other kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's where your commercial motor vehicle really kind of starts, is at the 26,000 brake. The other brake is way down at 10,000. At chauffeur's license, a couple of them have to have the commercial motor vehicles, but not many of them. Basically, right, is that my understanding?
Different routes.
Right, and depending on where you're going, if you're interstate or intrastate, out of Michigan, in Michigan, it's a very complicated, we just sent all our guys for 2 weeks of school, and that's just to get them rolling.
Okay.
So it is, it's all combination really whether you're interstate or intrastate, and where those lines are. But the commercial motor vehicle starts with about 6,000 pounds, typically speaking on those things.
Okay, and the last question I have is, just off the top of your head, approximately how many stops do you normally expect from your group? How many do you make during your group?
Well, that kind of varies. I mean, we have a lot of other things going on in our city right now. We're very tied up with constructions and trying to help out all the constructions and stuff. We've only had one active. Our other guy retired a year ago. I would say I get probably 2-3 stops a week on commercial motor vehicles.
But
depending on how much time allows.
Yeah, if we weren't repairing roads and all that kind of stuff, how many would you expect?
I would expect to stop a day in the commercial motor vehicle, depending on what's going on. Because then we work telegraph, because we have a lot of trucks that have issues on telegraph. 696 is a little harder because we don't really have a spot to stop trucks very well. We have to take them all the way down to Oak Park, because stopping them on freeway is unsafe. So we would have to take them down to Oak Park. We do have a cutaway in Oak Park. So 8 Mile, telegraph, Southfield Road's a problem. Obviously with anything, as Mr. Zorn said, that's a huge issue, and we do deal with Mount Vernon and Southfield frequently. But the trucks, I would expect to stop a day out of every one of our guys.
Okay.
We'll see how much we
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no opposition, we'll move forward to our October 20th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on our agenda is the public works update.
Good evening, Honorable Body and Madam Chair. I think it's taking just a minute to warm up here, but we're getting that going. This is going to be similar to what I did about a month ago, just giving you an update on what's going on all of our major capital projects. Things seem to be changing by the week out there, and sometimes every few days. So our big project right out front, Evergreen from Northwestern to I-696. This week you will see some mainline concrete going in. Again, that last little piece of mainline paving from north of the north roundabout up to 11 Mile. Just today they were installing some more of the stamped concrete crosswalks. At the same time, you may have noticed over on Central Park Boulevard, the City Center Advisory Board has contracted separately with the same contractor, so they're doing a stamped concrete crosswalk by Travelers Tower right underneath their walkway there. So they're trying to, there's always seems to be speeding problems on that road, and they've got their parking garage on one side and a lot of pedestrians going back and forth. They're hoping that will be a visual and it's not striping that's going to wear away in a year, so remind the vehicles that they've got frequent pedestrians there. We're also going to see a lot of cleanup going on out there as they start wrapping up a lot of the final paving and some landscaping for this construction season. So on the west side, they're really starting to get working on some final grading over there, and getting irrigation lines are all going to be installed on the west side, minus just a couple gaps where some of our roundabouts aren't going to be functioning roundabouts yet, so we've got a lot of temporary pavement around those roundabouts. And then you'll see the sidewalks going in. There's still a few drive approaches that are yet to be poured on the west side. A couple that were poured already. Usually we've been taking about a week to get a full pure strength on there, so you'll see some of those drives opening up probably by next Monday. They're also going to be installing sod, and we're still talking with the contractor and our own people to make sure that the sod goes in and responsibility for it. So when the sod goes in, it's not automatically ours, but once it takes root, then it's ours. And the contractor seems to think he'll be able to get it to take root this year. It all kind of depends on the weather, what goes on. Otherwise, it may not be able to be accepted until next spring. The west side of the north roundabout has gotten started with some of that related parking lot work inside Travelers Towers property. So all that pavement removal has occurred, and they're working on the grading. And you'll see curbs going down there pretty soon as well. The Travelers Tower, we had quite a bit of impact to their parking operations on the north side of their property when we were installing that 16-inch storm sewer. That work is all complete on their property. We did that weekend closure. It was really just a one-day closure, and we got across Evergreen Road a couple days ago. They still have some of that 60-inch storm work. You'll see some pieces of the big pipe are still out there that have to go in near the rain garden area. They're looking for their shutdown of work for winter. It's probably going to be mid-November. They still got quite a bit of work to do out here. One thing that's been a little bit of a moving target, I had been under the understanding that we were going to be pretty much open to regular traffic over the winter time, and that's not going to be the case. We've got some drainage issues on this where we have the temporary pavement. You know, we still have our same old stormwater issues because that side of the road isn't done yet. and we were looking at the cost of having to install temporary catch basins to drain, and some of the mobility problems to try and keep both sides of the street open. That asphalt that's out there is a pretty thin layer. We're not, that'll take a beating over the winter. We're not sure how that would survive. So the plan is to have one lane in each direction as we have now, except it will be all on the west side on the new pavement. And one of the things that also affords us is that depending on what the spring is looking like and when things start to clear up, there's still quite a bit of water main work that has to occur on the east side of the street, and that gives us the opportunity to get an early start. As soon as that snow melt gets off the ground, that underground work can get started when there's still frost in the ground. Our South Evergreen project, pretty much all of the water main and storm is all in. There's just a little bit left on some of the tie-ins at the cross streets, particularly on the east side, where they'll be going second. The mainline paving on the west side is complete. They still have to get the curbs in and the drive approaches and sidewalks. So that's all going to be happening very soon. You'll see the approaches and sidewalks should be going in on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. They'll get started. Hopefully the rain stays away so it doesn't push us back there. The biggest concern, this just came up Friday, as I said, this is always progressing. DTE gas, we thought they were done and finally out of our way, and Friday they said they've got another 26-inch gas line that ran parallel with another one that they already did all their protecting that they wanted to do. Now they've got another one down between 8 Mile and their property just north of Rassock there. It's about 800 or so feet north of 8 Mile. So they've got about a week and a half worth of work, and they've not started yet. And even if they take a week and a half and had started today, they're already in our way. So our contractor was ready to get all the prep work and everything going on that east side of the road. And right now, it's really looking like that east half, that south piece, probably about the first 1,000 feet, may not get paved this year, and we'll be back revisiting that piece again in the spring. We'd have to do some temporary asphalt paving for that to get it through the winter because we're going to have full traffic on everything down there. So that's kind of worst case scenario. The contractor, Dan's Excavating, is our main contractor down there, as well as on our north project, and he really felt like from the previous delays by DTE Gas, we were really going through to try and get all the paving done by the end of November, which was already going to be iffy, and another week and a half is probably going to make that not be possible for that whole piece. So I'm thinking the end of November, we're going to have a shutdown. It'll really be fully open to traffic, but we'll have to get some temporary pavement down, and then we've probably got another 4 to 6 weeks of construction come springtime. So that will be progressing, I'm sure, weekly. I will let you know if anything changes there. Our 11-mile project over by Federal Mogul's new facility is well underway. That road is under full closure right now. That's part of what Sergeant Barr was talking about. I saw him out there last week. Closed to traffic is, there's always lots of people trying to sneak through. There's not an easy route. You talk about half-mile roads, well, there's nothing really over there, so people will have to drive pretty far out of their way to avoid that stretch of closed road, and everyone's trying to sneak through. So the day I was out there last week, because of all, there was heavy work right at Inkster, it was really completely closed. I mean, no one could get in there, and cars, it was kind of chaos. They were trying to get through and having to turn around in the middle of the construction zone. Our residents and property owners have been very understanding. All the properties on the south side, that some of them have access off of Inkster, so we've just closed their 11-mile access. They've been very understanding to that. We're trying to be sensitive to Federal Mogul moving in. This week they have 250 employees that were starting to work at that facility, and over the next 3 weeks they're going to have over 1,000 employees there. So I wish our construction was 3 weeks ahead of time and we could have beat them, but they've been working very well with us, and we kept some drives partially open so they've been able to get their workers and the construction equipment as they were doing renovations in and out. Some of those drives are complete. We've got a couple more to do that they'll be paving probably by the end of this week. The median islands are being cut in this week, so cutting out some of that existing pavement and getting all those installed before they put the stone layer down. If you recall, this rehabilitation, it's not a mill and overlay like we've done on some of our other projects. We come in and we put 2-3 inches of stone down and then put a heavy asphalt cap on top. We've got 5 inches of asphalt. This is why all the curbs had to come out and all the drive approaches are being replaced because that whole road's coming up. So this is just a heavier kind of fix. We'll get more life out of it than just a mill and overlay. And then we avoid having to do a lot of undercuts that we would have expected. That road was in bad shape and showing signs of sub-base failure there. So the sidewalks and restoration on the north side, they'll be get going on that really at the same time that they're going to be pouring the curb and gutter all on the south side, and that's all going to be happening by the end of this week. They'll have several weeks of closure to facilitate this work. Contractor is trying to be conservative, saying he thinks he will be ready to pave asphalt that first week in November. We're thinking it might be earlier if we don't get too many rain days. Greenfield, between 8 and 9 miles. Last time I was here, they were ahead of schedule. Now they seem to be just back on their regular schedule. So,
because you told them that they were ahead of schedule.
I know, I jinxed it. I shouldn't have said anything. So this week, they are finishing up the 9-mile intersection pavement, and they will be paving all the side streets that they had gapped out previously. Those are all getting pavement, and you'll see the concrete curb and gutter going in hopefully by the end of this week. So next week, you'll start seeing all the sidewalks on the west side and all the driveway approaches to the businesses going in. The ADA ramps on the east side, this is the one part they think they're running out a little bit of time, and it is really more weather dependent. So the road commission seems to be not optimistic that they're going to be able to get all the ADA ramps on the east side, on the Oak Park side in this year. But everything's still in. They haven't pulled anything out yet, so they may just leave those and come back in the spring and take care of those ADA ramps at 9 Mile. In our Section 31 water main and street project, this project is still going under lots and lots of construction. This is a big project area. So we've got a few of these streets that you can see in red there that are all done. So that they've got both their layers of asphalt are down, all the restoration's complete, everyone's hooked up to the new water system, and those people are done. The next thing we've got in the green, those are the areas where the water main's done, the water services are all hooked up, we've got the first layer of pavement down, there's still restoration that's going on, and still need a final course of asphalt on those green roads. I think their next focus to complete is going to be Seminole, all the way from 8 Mile, all the way up around the curve to Inkster Road. We were not able to work out an agreement. Early on, we were trying to get an easement from Arbor Condominiums there to loop the water main from the end of Poinciana into their complex. It gave better connectivity, it gave more reliability to their complex, and we could not come to terms with getting that easement from them. So they didn't really see the benefit, and so we have abandoned that, and we still have, Poinciana is a dead end today as it was previously. I mean, it functions, that's fine, but, you know, it would have been nice to have that looped so that if there's a breakdown there, you know, on the end of Poinciana, you would have been able to feed from the other end. And same thing for the Arbor condominiums. When there's a break out on Inkster Road, their entire complex is shut down, and now they've got no alternate way to feed. So that's not any worse than it was before. We had been hoping to make some improvements. So most of the rest of the streets, the main line water main is really all in. We've got water mains that are still under the testing. They do bacteria tests a couple days in a row and pressure tests. So I'm waiting for those test results to come back, and then we'll start hooking in water services and then following up with paving. There's probably going to be some streets that just get a base course of asphalt down over winter, and then we'll come back in the spring and get that top course of asphalt down. And the only project for next year that I wanted to bring up is that I did hear back, just via email from the state MDOT, MEDC, and what they're telling us is that they would like to give us some economic development grant money. They don't want to give us as much money as we had asked for. So this is what they've proposed so far. I haven't reached back out to them yet to see if there's any room for negotiation, or was this the final offer, take it or leave it. The way that we had applied was the way that we got that bridge improvement done, which was really an 80-20, so 80% grant, 20% local match, and what they came back to offer us is 60%, like a 60-40, so 60% grant, 40% local match. So that's some of what we wanted to get a feel from you tonight. What we'd like to do for council's direction, the last time we brought this before council, is once I am sure that I've got my final number and I've gotten everything I can get from MDOT, we'd like to be able to approach BASF and just have a little negotiating room to do some cost sharing. I don't think they're going to agree to do $400,000 in an SAD, but you know, possibly a 50-50 is kind of where I was thinking that would seem fair.
My thought process on this, I'll be meeting with Bill Zagman tomorrow. This is their first offer. I'd like to do a counter back, but I think at the end of the day, my recommendation is that if BSF and some of the other neighboring properties be asked to come to the table, some type of SAD. I will prepare a history of some of the tax appeals in that neighborhood. There have been some substantial tax appeals. BSF has been one of those beneficiaries. But you know, frankly, we were very generous with the bridge, and maybe I think we have to have a different level of engagement. But this is the first, and actually the state was really struggling with this, because what they came back at one point, they said those jobs are going to either be in Southfield or Wyandotte. And they were arguing, you know, Michigan's getting the benefit, why should we be at the table? We put some pressure on them, but I think we're going to come back and put a little bit more pressure. You know, if we can get them up another 5-10%, and then sit down with BSF. And, you know, that's where we're at. I don't see anything happening. There is one other option, and that is to change our design standard. Our current design, Lee, if I misstep, correct me, is all concrete with substantial stormwater drainage and that. The other would be to, we could go back to the state and say, we could make this project work, but we're going to do an asphalt cross section, but probably not address the stormwater. I think at the end of the day, the problem with this road is it's stormwater. I mean, there's a lot happening, it doesn't have adequate drainage. And if we were to do an asphalt section, by the time we cut up that road, we would find a base, and you know, when you do a project like this with MDOT, whatever the extras are on our dime. So I would rather go in with a full new concrete road, adequate stormwater, and know it's going to be done right. We'll have a 30 to 40-year concrete road, provided it's maintained.
Marilyn, I wanted to go back to the DTE interfering with our construction schedule. Is there any liability for DTE?
Yes, there is. So through this process, we have to work through with the contractor about all of the extras that this is going to be. So there's already likely to be extras even without this latest snafu, just because it was pushing our pavement operations back into colder months. So then there's cold weather protection. You can still pay the concrete, it just costs more money. They've got blankets and everything else that they use. And so we've already been knowing anyway that we need to sit down, and we'll be doing that probably as soon as the active construction wraps up, to sit down with Dan's and come to an agreement on how much of the delay was caused to Dan's own operations and how much of this delay was caused by DTE gas. Right now, as we've been talking at meetings, we're not exactly eye to eye on where that responsibility lies. with their schedule right now. But something like this, it's very clear cut. You know, here we are, we're in the final stretch. We knew exactly what was supposed to be happening in these last several weeks of the project, and DTE Gas is going to, I mean, they said it, a week and a half. And that's a week and a half of work. Our problem before was just getting them out there to do the work. So I'm hoping if they come to the table and come quick, and if the weather cooperates, maybe there's a chance that we still get it done this year. It's a big cost to DTE Gas if this doesn't get done until next year. The contractor was fully expecting to complete it this
And the
year.
kicker was on this, is that they already cost us one delay on it, and then they can't come back a second time and say, well, we want to wrap the second pipe. And I get that and respect that from a public safety standpoint, but why wasn't it done concurrently? That's the rub for us. I did speak to the city attorney about it. We'll go through the process as Ms. Schultz has said, but we could find ourselves, you know, hopefully DTE will do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've had...
Understatement of the evening.
We've had other projects where we've had to have the private utility companies pay for extras because of their work or special construction methods maybe that they were requiring because they had shallow utilities. So it's not unusual for something like this to come up. The thing is, with this being delayed until next year, that's really what ends up happening. That's a remobilization for a major contractor. I mean, you're putting down probably $50,000 worth of temporary asphalt, and then spending another $10,000, $20,000 to remove it again in the spring. I mean, these costs could run upwards of $350,000 in extra. And, you know, and there's many elements of it that are very clearly DTE Gas, and DTE Gas is aware of it. And then there's others that, you know, we'll probably be doing quite a bit of back and forth to see if this is Dan's responsibility or DTE Gas. Ultimately, we start the negotiations with Dan's, and hopefully we can come to an agreement with them. And then they always have the right to appeal. If we are not coming to an agreement, they take it up to MDOT, and ultimately MDOT can have the final say. And once it's all said and done, it's DTE Gas that is kind of left with MDOT's decision, although it's up to us to turn around and go after DTE Gas to recover those funds.
Okay, you said that we can lay the cement in the winter, in the cold. When does it get too cold? Because the temperature seems to be dropping rapidly fast. And so when you start talking about mid-November, and we were almost in the 30s the other night, when is it too cold, and who's monitoring?
Yeah, MDOT has pretty specific guidelines on temperatures of when you can start paving, or what the temperature is at that time of morning, and then it has to be rising that day. So sometimes it's a big difference of if the sun is coming out that day. So MDOT guidelines are pretty strict with at what temperature cold weather protection is required, and when they can actually pour. Typically, if there's not frost in the ground yet, they can still pour it. A lot of times it's just a matter of cost. They can go in, they can actually heat the ground. They bring their concrete generates quite a bit of heat itself, they blanket over top of that. So it's a little different from asphalt. Asphalt is like the plant's closed down about mid-November, and there's not much you can do. If it gets too cold, you're done with asphalt. With concrete, you do have some options, it's just all a matter of cost.
And so when is spring? You said we'll start back in spring. When is spring?
That's a lot of times weather dependent. I usually think April. I mean, but sometimes it can be March if we're mild and that snow melt gets out and the frost leaves the ground. That's usually what we're waiting for, is the frost.
No, it wouldn't have been this. Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Ball.
Yeah, on this specific project, which is I'm a stick in the mud about this one because it's one that I've been dealing with since even before I was in council and working in Rudy's office. I just want to make council just like understand the context that the city partnering with the state is getting them that 60%. So it is so tough for me to absorb, you know, the extra 40% or even any sort of percentage of that 40%. And any negotiation that can be done on the city's behalf to, you know, maybe increase that percentage on the state's end, I support. But even in talking with the businesses that are impacted by that road, we have to really be crystal clear that, our partnership is getting that state funding. And for us to absorb the rest is really not an option.
And we'll also include what we've already put in.
Yeah, and when you drive down Lee Baker or Maple Ridge or other roads throughout the city, I just can't justify, putting that type of an investment on a road that when residents, and we're asking them to, now vote on a bond proposal, we have to be showing that, we're going to be very extra careful about what dollars go to what roads. And it just doesn't sit well with me to put that type of investment in that road. So I'm hoping that the negotiations can at least cover the state part even more, but then we go right back to those entities and say, look, that's part of the city partnership by applying for this grant and by being a participant in that.
And that's going to be part of the art, because we've said earlier, as part of the Durr project, we want to ask the state for a couple pieces there too, and there's got to be a better balance, and frankly, my balance looks at the sheer volume of cars that drive down the road, and this is not a heavily trafficked road. It's a lot easier to justify. If I had to choose between one or the other, I'd probably be on the side of Lasser or First Center before 11 Mile, just based on sheer volume. And I'm prepared to tell that to BSF that, we get so many opportunities. I think we've already kind of greased the skids on Durr with the state. We're asking the road commission to carry that water on Lasser, but they may come back and say, Southfield, you're getting a whole bunch of money here.
So that's just my 2 bits on that particular project, which I'm going to be a stick in the mud about, including when next year, if I have to see this again.
Mr. Prakash.
I guess with them a little bit, we're making judgment calls on these roads, and Jeremy brings up a good point, which I respect, is that, we talk about Evergreen Road, I don't know whether we thought this has to be the greatest road that was ever built in the world, to spend $12 million. Last year road was only $5.6 million. You got 5 lanes of beautiful concrete. I'm only saying that because we've got to get into these neighborhoods. I just told Larry that Red Leaf Lane, for example, that concrete was just absolutely gone. And everybody goes into that whole area, has to go down a concrete road that's gravel. And I don't see us really looking at these really bad spots in the city and taking care of what has to get done. I guess I go down these streets all the time. I mean, I just watch this and walk them, and I'm telling you, I don't see the workmanship. I just see things that are not inspected properly, and all due respect to all these people, how much it takes to ride herd on all these projects that we're doing, and I don't know who Larry just gave me the inspector's name, emailed me, but I never see an inspector out there. I mean, I walk this thing 2-3 times a week, and I never see anybody but workers, and they just keep doing their thing, and then you got 11 Mile Road going, you got Evergreen and 8 Mile, 9 Mile Road going, and the trucks are on Inkster Road that are working on 11 Mile Road. I mean, what kind of damage are they going to be doing on that new road? And here, Telegraph Road is only 5 years old, and it's gone. It's gone. I mean, I can take you down there, I mean, it's cracked. I mean, 10, 20 places it's actually cracked. You go underneath the I-696, that whole lane, or Easter Lane is gone. And it is cracked all the way up the middle, all the way to Myers. And I guess what I'm getting at is we spend all this money, and I just think that, you know, we better have more than 5 years of guarantee on these roads that are being done. And I don't think we're getting it. I mean, and I hate to keep bringing it up, that median is going on 6 years, and it's still like garbage. And I hate to use the terminology, but I mean, I get tired of that. I mean, I see this stuff, and I go to all these jobs. I look at Groton, and it's got holes by the apartments there. There's big holes by the driveway. You know, I mean, I seen a guy trailing asphalt trailer the other day in the rain. I don't know where he's going. What is he out in the rain? A street sweeper swept in the middle of rain. Street sweeper. All the leaves came down after the rain. And all these, I don't know what they call them, these elms, some kind of Chinese elms, all got this yellow stuff all over everything. You know, so all the streets got all the leaves. I mean, they all need to be cleaned if people don't go out in the street and pick up. I do, but I mean, I don't know anybody else that does. You know, I say that, Gary, but I mean, I just like to clean my street. But man, I mean, I just get tired. You know, I go to Inglenook, you know, and we did that little crappy thing in the middle, you know, the swale, and yet at the end, at the west end, when they turn the radius, they drive over the swale. I mean, there's nothing stopping. There's not a curb there. They just make that circle to go around, and they just cut right over the dirt. I mean, you know, I guess maybe I'm just tired of talking about it, but I just think, you know, I mean, if you think about it, you got $6.5 million going on Section 31, you got 12 million here, you got 1 million going here, you got 6 million going on Evergreen, you got so much million going on 11 Mile Road. I mean, who's making sure that I'm not going to have to fix Inkster Road again? You come over here, we did Civic Center Drive, and they're driving on Civic Center Drive, and we just did it. You know, I mean, this stuff can't take that weight. You know, it just can't until it's cured properly. And you know, and I don't know why. I'd like to have an answer why they have to saw cut these roads just so that we get railroad tracks. You know, 2 years later, you know, the whole street goes till we get thump everywhere you go. 275. You think you got flat tires. I mean, something wrong with the engineering, the way we do things anymore, and they'll never catch it. They can have $1 billion a year, which is saying to fix our highways. If they don't do them and give us 25 years, 20 years at least, you're not going to have to have $10 billion a year. And I just think the city ought to be cautious. You know, I mean, we're running in the winter. Now they're going to try to stretch it to most they can to save some money. You know, the timing of these contracts getting out on the street. You know, we're not finishing them every year anymore. They're now, it's going to be a 2-year project, 3-year project. And I just don't see anything being completed and finished. I know I'm venting, but I tell you, I've been in that business, and I could never make a living if I did things this way. Could never make a living. It's got to be done time-wise. Every time you're paying a mortgage commitment, when that building isn't done at such and such a time, you're still paying that money. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, bank don't say, oh, you're not going to finish till next year. That's fine. Just make sure you give me every month, you know. And it's, I don't know, private business does things differently, I guess. It's, they know they have to save money. That's all I have to say. I don't have to stop driving through the city walking or something.
ride your bike.
Mr. Frazier.
Get a bike, yeah, I'll find a bike rack somewhere and park it.
Yeah, I have just a couple of questions. One is, do you have an update on the exit off the lodge on the 9 mile exit off the lodge? Where are we at on that one?
Nowhere right now.
What's the
I mean, that,
Well, they're gonna-
they've,
Oh, right.
Oh, Northwestern Highway.
Off, no, yeah.
Yeah, it was
that's right.
scheduled for the spring, and we're in engineering.
No, off the lodge.
Off
The
the-
9 mile exit off the lodge, past Hudson's, where we're gonna shrink the thing from 3 lanes to 2.
so that whole service drive project for
Yeah.
next year? I mean, that's just still under design, so nothing really much has changed. We're still planning a 2015 construction, and the, you know, we have had some initial meetings with the property owners, the business owners particularly in that area. So no one expressed any great concern about us closing it down in advance of the actual road construction. It will also give us an opportunity with our own contractor, since we're going to be taking over a water main, we'll be able to get some water main stubs in while that road's shut down, and some new hydrants on that road too. So, which will be good. At least people will see some construction activity for the probably 2-3 months before the road project starts. So,
Is it gonna make a difference that they got problems over at Northland?
yeah, you know, we actually have a meeting set up, which I was really glad. That was one of my concerns, because some of the realignment of those drive approaches, we need a temporary easement from that property owner. So I was a little worried once Brent Reese was out of the picture, that who my next contact was going to be, because, you know, and I'm hoping that they're going to be amicable in donating those temporary easements. When you're dealing with federal money, you're always obligated to show them what that temporary easement value would be, and then they have to sign off if they're willing to donate. So Brent Reese has been cooperative in doing that in the past, like for the water main project out on Greenfield. So I'm hoping that our new contact there will be also amenable. The drive approach is worst case. I don't know how much I'm really willing to pay for them, so if they're not willing to donate, we'll probably just leave them as is and not touch them.
The other question I have, and it's a curiosity. The stormwater drains on Evergreen Road are out in the middle of the driving lane. Is that new design, or, because I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, those are the existing catch basins that were in the old gutter line. So they just changed out the covers, and then they had to pave over what used to be green belt when they removed that curb and put down that temporary asphalt.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? So those drainage structures are still like sitting there in the middle of the lane when it used to be on the edge of the lane right at the curb.
Now, is that going to be a problem with, now, I know it's not going to be a problem with plowing the snow, but stuff going in there that normally wouldn't have gone in it, being in the curb line rather than in the middle of the driving lane?
You know, I'm sorry, when that's rebuilt, it will be rebuilt into the new curb line. So when they do the east side of the
So
road.
this is only temporary?
Yeah, where that asphalt is.
Oh, okay.
And where that is in the center, that's
Wait a
just
minute.
temporary.
You're gonna move those over, oh, okay.
But that won't matter, because we'll be driving on the new concrete come
Well,
winter.
this winter, we won't have to worry about it, and that's kind of where we were getting into that little bit of a juggle. It's like, okay, how much is this gonna cost us? We can't have freezing temperatures and ponding water on this asphalt that's only this thick, and so that's when we decided to go one lane in each direction for the winter, but keep it all of that traffic over winter will be on the new pavement, so at least we don't have to worry about the drainage problems on that asphalt where it is now, and that asphalt falling apart.
Okay.
Mr. Snyder.
Lee, can you and/or Larry, please, I know you're busy, but somebody needs to go down and look at Laura Lane off 9 Mile and Lee Baker. I mean, Laura Lane looks like it's got measles. There's so many patches on that street. And again, it's marked on the map that went out as not being a second-tier priority for 5 years out. The potholes are huge on Lee Baker. I don't know.
Yep, will do.
Somebody needs to look at it.
they had the, road, commission for Oakland County, and they had the 2015, where they're spending the money. And when you look to see what Southfield is getting compared to all the other cities, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're only getting $500,000 for Greenfield between 10 Mile and the Southfield on the Oak Park Road, on the other side. And other communities are getting $23 million and $5.5 million. Beverly Hills, $8.8 million. I mean, the money is unbelievable, no money. So what can we do to approach them, to have some discussions to get more money for our roads when we're a large city in Oakland County?
Right, every 2 years, we sit down with the leadership at the Road Commission, and we give them what our priority county roads are within our city. So that's something that we've been doing, which is probably what spurred this 10 Mile and Southfield intersection work that's about to wrap up, which I should have mentioned. It was more of a maintenance project for them, but that should be all open this week, by the way. So, but those type of things, I mean, we knew that Southfield Road itself, the whole road, because it's under this environmental assessment, isn't going to be fully reconstructed for years to come. So those are the kind of things that they're trying to pay attention to. We've had conversations with them about that piece of Lasher many times, actually, between Civic Center and the freeway there.
That's actually our next identified project.
Yeah, and that's...
Southfield Road?
No, Lasser.
Yeah, there's just that one piece of Lasser that's left. But I mean, really, in the past few years, we've had a lot of road commission projects in Southfield, as well as MDOT projects. And I know this because our match is always like hitting our road budget at a time when it's hard to afford. But we still welcome the opportunity for them to come in and take care of these roads. Lasser was a total reconstruction from 11 to 12 Mile. They've improved some other sections of Lasser previously. We've got that 1.5 mile stretch left. And then they did that 12 Mile between Evergreen and Southfield a few years back, and the year before that they were out on 10 Mile from Evergreen over to Telegraph. So, I mean, I feel like we've had our fair share. We definitely still have some priorities. I think that last winter, 10 Mile took an especially big hit between Greenfield and Evergreen. It's like that really blew up over this last winter. And, I'm getting concerned it's not every piece of it, but, there's stretches of it that are becoming reminiscent of Greenfield Road with those joints being blown out one after another after another. So the next time we meet with them, that's another one of the priority areas that I would be pushing for them to go after funding.
I think it would be appropriate to have the road commission come in. In the budget the state legislature adopted, there was additional money set aside for road. I didn't pull up the county number, but I believe Oakland County Road, it's over additional $4 million that they're getting in their budget. Each of it's coming in a quarter. And they probably, the time there was budget put together, wasn't aware. They weren't aware that they were getting that extra money. It's not, these are funds outside of the Act 51 distribution, but it was a special allocation within the general fund. For example, Southfield will be picking up another I think it's like $56,000 is the amount we're getting out of that. Again, it's a one-time allocation, far cry from if the governor were to get the full $1.5 billion that he has asked for, we would pick up another $4.5 million, assuming the Act 51 distribution formula is the same. So even in our case, the message is we're going to pick up an extra $450,000 in our budget starting October 1 on the state fiscal year forward, and then Oakland County has extra money that they probably deserve. So I think the timing's good to bring them in and go through. We also got Greenfield Road too, which is a huge, we had identified that as our top priority. So I think we need to keep the pressure on them.
Please don't forget to engage your county commissioners.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the communication portion of the agenda. Councilman Durr.
I just wanted to start off by saying that irritation is an invitation. Mr. Perkowski.
No, excuse me, you have your time. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Irritation is an invitation to elevation, and elevation requires much examination. I said that for you, Mr. Perkowski.
What?
I said irritation is an invitation to elevation, and elevation requires examination. That's what I said to you.
Corrections, young lady.
Okay? Mayor Lawrence, I concur with you about the Southfield standard and that more needs to be done in this city. All the road work that you can do is not going to beautify the community when you have things like bus sheds that need to be addressed. You have standing water that needs to be addressed, like the standing water in front of Toys R Us on Northwestern Service Drive near Copper Canyon, the closed facility, and I hope you got your water bill and other taxes due to you from that property. And then also, several residents contacted me about a building on 12 Mile in Losser that's got a very ridiculous LED sign, and there's a lot of standing water there. It's on the corner of Losser and 12 Mile across from Laurel Park and Colony Park Apartments. It looked like it may be a school or a church or something, but they're concerned about the standing water right there. I came before this council and talked about median strips, and I just want to know, have you reached out to the businesses to adopt the median strips? And then lastly, I just want to say to this council, thank you so much for adopting the Pamela Gerald Amendment, or what you call Rule 4. It might be an inconvenience to require that I sign up for the meetings every 30 days. And after thinking about it, it's kind of like the Cinderella clause. You'll just get a chance to see me more often. So instead of me signing up in January for all the meetings, I'll be signing up once a month. And I am honored and humbled that you guys over the years have made me relevant. You've shown the residents that I'm a true advocate and that I'm a very passionate person for policy, procedures, and for the people. So I just want to remind you guys that passion has no address. Thank you so much.
Next person on our agenda is Mr. Gerard Rowland.
Madam President, my name is Gerard Mullen. My address is Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. On Monday, May 19, 2014, I recommended at the COW that you add an email slot to the council's request for recognition forum. You did, and I thank you. But there's still one outstanding, glaring problem with this form. This form has an illiterate reference to 12 p.m. instead of noon. I previously pointed this out on October 15, 2012 at the COW, and then again on September 22nd at the last council meeting. Remember, rule number 4, the Pamela Gerald Amendment? Let me refresh your memory. There is no 12 p.m., just as there's no 12 a.m. It's either noon or midnight. Not because I say so, but because Uncle Sam's timekeeper, the NIST, says so. That is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Here is why 12 p.m. can't be used for noon. AM and PM are abbreviations for antemeridian and postmeridian, which means before noon and afternoon, respectively. Noon is noon. Noon is neither before noon nor is noon after noon. Noon is simply noon. Therefore, a designation of 12 p.m. cannot be used for noon. This is one of the two anomalies of the 12-hour clock, the other being midnight, which I discussed in some detail on October 15, 2012 at the POW in reference to traffic signs on Telegraph Road that use the illiterate 12 a.m. nomenclature. Remember? The aforementioned time statements can be verified by Googling NIST.gov and then typing in noon in the search box. Voila. Check it out. Check it out. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
And just to clarify, for the record, there is no Pamela Gerald amendment. It was a change in the request on how individuals get on our agenda, and it is not the Pamela Gerald.
I have to make, I feel like a clown responding to this, but I want to make sure our city administration does not change from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. I want that clear, that we're listening, we've heard you, and I don't want anything changed on any form, so you don't have to bring this back to council. We've listened, and I think we've decided we're keeping it the same way.
All right, we're done with the communications portion of our agenda. Council, is there any other items to be brought to this body?
I just would like to say there's no saying that never get in an argument with a fool, because somebody might come along and not be able to tell the difference.
Is there any other comments? Any other comments? We call this meeting adjourned.